all the trees and put them in a tree museum.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into Real Big Talk. I'm Big Rick. That's Lola. We got lots to talk about. Today, Lola, is Groundhog Day. You ever really get into Groundhog Day? I mean, have you ever gone to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania?
Are you crazy? It's cold. I'm not going to go out there and freeze.
I figured in all the adventures of your life, you would have done it at least once.
Nope. It requires going outside in the freezing cold to watch a rodent come out and bite the guy that is holding him.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. This is kind of a crazy story. First of all, I have been to Punxsutawney for Groundhog Day. I did it once, and once is enough. But it's interesting. It's fun. It's, back when I did it, it was still a pretty raucous party.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. And a lot of drinking and then not feeling the cold. And
Yes, I mean, essentially, yes.
Yes.
They stopped the drinking, probably, really curbed it. I don't know if they ever really stop it, but they really curbed it in the last decade about not being able to take alcohol onto Gobbler's Knob, and then you're just kind of, well, let's drink this hot chocolate and see if we don't die in the freezing cold. So it has lost some of its luster. I think when I was a stronger, more able to endure the cold, it was easier for me. But I've been there. It's kind of fun. It was certainly fun. It was an experience that I'm glad I got once and I got over. But the story I wanted to tell you really has nothing to do with Gobbler's Knob. But I had a private audience once with Punxsutawney Phil.
But that was a stimulating conversation.
Well, he's very bright. And this was, and it's a story that already today, my Facebook page blows up every Groundhog Day with my friends that either remember this memory or have heard the story. But when I was an intern, or I think maybe I was just started like actually getting employed at WDVE in Pittsburgh when I was a younger man, I had to line up for the Celebrate the Seasons parade at the old Pittsburgh Civic Arena. That's where they would line everybody up and go down the hill and go through town. And I mean, it's a parade, but that's where everybody would start. And so I got there, they lined me up, and I was right behind the Punxsutawney Phil trailer. And he has a pretty nice spread. He's got a good spot. And it was, so you're there for hours. Radio in any sense and parade in any sense is hurry up and wait. You get there 3 hours in advance to just sit there, whether you're in the parade or you're waiting to watch it. So I talked to the people that I knew and whatever, and I walked around, and finally I was like, you know what, I'm going to go in and see if they'll talk to me. So I go into this trailer, and the people in there are very nice. They're dressed in their tuxedos and the whole nine. And they said, would you like to pet him? I said, sure, I would love to do that. And this is before cell phone cameras and video, which is unfortunate because I'm sure this would have been tremendous. So he's laying in his pit of hay that he's got in there. And they said, they showed me how to pet him. You can't go up his back. You have to go just from his head down. Okay, fair enough. Makes sense. He's a groundhog. Probably wouldn't like to be snuck up on either. As soon as I do it, he launches on to in between my index finger and my thumb to the point where I still have the marks. I'm looking at them right now. And if you can feel my pain through the radio. So he takes a chunk out of me. And they can't apologize more. They're so sorry, assured me that he was well vetted and taken care of, and there's nothing to it. And they gave me a commemorative Punxsutawney Phil coin for my troubles, which I still have. That's the sad part. I still have it. I saw it recently when I moved. But so I still have the chunk missing. And the worst part about it was I went back to the radio station van, and I'm like, well, there's blood profusely running down my hand. The arena's not open, so I can't go in and clean off my hand or whatever. So I had a bottle of water I dumped on my hand, and I had to sop up the blood with like old receipts that were in like gas receipts that were in the van. That's my Punxsutawney Phil story. And every year, as soon as I wake up on Groundhog's Day, whoever is up first starts bombarding me with all these memories and text messages and stuff like that. So that is my famous summit with Punxsutawney Phil. He did see 6 more weeks of winter. Take it for what you want. If you look outside, you can't blame him for seeing it. You can't blame him, although the snow appears to be done for right now, but I'm not surprised. By the way, French Creek Freddy, the West Virginia's own weather prognosticator, he sees an early spring.
So did the one down in Athens.
Oh, okay. So, who knows? All I can say is if you look outside right now.
Doesn't it boil down to the same thing?
It's
6 weeks.
Yeah. Why do you have to take the fun out of it?
I'm sorry.
Oh, don't take the fun out of it.
Sorry.
It's one of the few things we have left that we're not fighting about.
That's because it's bipartisan.
Yes, weather prognosticating rodents are the only thing we have left that we are not fighting about, although if you read through the comments on any of it, you can find people fighting over the actual accuracy of rodents predicting weather. I mean,
or the real one. Is it Punxsutawney Phil? And all these other states have just ripped off?
I think so. I mean, all these other there is no feature film featuring Bill Murray.
That's true.
About French Creek Freddy, and I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying he's definitely not the original.
He's one of the cousins that just kind of usurped the title.
Yeah, exactly. He's not official. I'm sure someone will get mad and call me on that one. Anyway, I'm Big Rick. That's Lola, and let's talk about real stuff too today. Lots of things happening out there in the world of politics, vaccines, everything else. Also, state government. We'll talk to Stephen Allen Adams later in the show. Lots of things going on in state government. Steve never disappoints with his insight on some of this stuff, but we'll actually manage to balance state news with federal news when we get to Steve, because West Virginia's jumping when it comes to what's going on right now with the Biden administration, Joe Manchin, Shelley Moore Capito. We'll get to that later. But I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I can't repeat necessarily what I said to him when he asked me a pretty interesting but blunt question. How did Trump get such fierce support? And he was talking about his mom. I mean, when truth be told, and again, I can't say it exactly like I said it to him yesterday, but how did this happen? How did people just fall head over heels for a political candidate? We've never seen that before in our lives, not in America. We've never seen anything like that. And he said to me, my mother said to me, that man doesn't get a moment's peace. That was her quote. And all I simply said was, I love his mother dearly, like my own. I said, the problem is he never wanted. Never, ever. And I think that's what kind of the disconnect between his mother's obviously not going to go to the Capitol and climb the wall, but she also still thinks that he was the right person for the job. And there's no way to explain to someone who doesn't want to understand that a moment's peace was never something that Donald Trump wanted. Because if he was out of the headline for 6, 8, 12 hours, he had to start a new headline. Mm-hmm. Why do you get up what do you do at 3 o'clock in the morning? There's only a few things in life any human is seeking at 3 a.m. You either have to work an overnight shift, you're hungry, or you want something else. There's nothing good starting at 3 a.m., but if you put out a great tweet at 3 a.m., by the time everybody gets up, it's already grown legs. And I was explaining how huge media companies, whether it's an extremely liberal one, a moderate one, a right-wing one, with Donald Trump not being the president, they need the headlines. They need your clicks. They need your website visits. And that's what I was trying to explain to him, to tell to his mom. This was all by design. All of that was by design. And especially when it comes to the fundraising. the post-election fundraising for Donald Trump is astronomical. And so I saw some numbers the other day that I thought I would share because this really kind of brings it home, hopefully for some to understand how this went. Raised well over $250 million post-election. So post the day he lost, all the way to now, over $250 million of his followers' money. Guess how much of that actually went to legal costs to try to overturn in any particular state recounts and things like, because you remember he paid $3 million to Wisconsin for a recount, which he still didn't get. Guess how much of that money actually went to legal purposes?
I have heard the percentage, but it was we know.
10 million.
Yeah.
Roughly $10 million.
All the rest went to his PAC.
Well, here's what I thought the interesting was, and yes, most of it did. They're saying upwards of $50 million went to create the Stop the Steal campaign. So that's an incredible amount of money to create the diversion, the idea, plant the seed, however you want to say it, to get people to believe that the election was stolen. More money went to the propaganda of the Stop the Steal campaign than to actually stop the steal if it existed. That is mind-blowing. That is mind-blowing. So somewhere near $200 million is in the PAC. And so when it got to be around election time, I mean, I wasn't doing this full time, but I was here once a week or so. I signed up for both Biden newsletters and Trump newsletters so I could read what they were writing, the email blasts that they sent. I'm still getting email blasts from, now it doesn't say Trump directly, but now it says from help the GOP, that kind of stuff. And it's still the same fund. It's still directly going in the same fund. It's still happening. And when this can't be legal, right? I mean, I guess you can give your money to whomever you want, however you want, but to continue on something from, I didn't think you were allowed to do that is basically what I'm trying to say. I didn't think you were allowed to, after the campaign was over, because I thought there were certain times that you could do this, but I guess there's not.
When it comes to a PAC, there are very few rules and regulations.
Which is why they created PACs.
Right. So it can't go to a campaign fund, but it can go into the PAC. And that's why all of a sudden some of these Republican senators are heading down to Mar-a-Lago to have meetings with him already, because the big fear now is getting primaried in 2 years. And they need his financial backing to be able to mount a good campaign. But PACs are, that's why they created them, because there's really not much oversight on them. Like that MoveOn.org, and that was a big one. That was a Democratic one, I think. But yeah, I mean, that's why he's still, and he always will have a huge voice inside the Republican Party, unless the party itself completely denounces him and goes on their separate way. And I don't see that necessarily happening because of the money. If we had campaign finance reform and had some regulations about how much can be spent by individuals, or that'd be a different story. But until we have some real regulations, and nobody that has to pass the legislation is going to do it, because they're the beneficiaries of it all.
I was going to say, that would be like policing yourself, and nobody's actually going to do that. I just thought those numbers were staggering.
Well, I knew they were real. I knew it was really high, because in the very tiny little fine print at the bottom of the email, it said what percentage, and it was only a percentage of the small donations, so that like you or I that might send in $100, you know, all the big ones, I think went straight to the PAC.
Yeah. That's I guess that's kind of how it was measured out there. But I just, when I read those numbers yesterday, I was just blown away by, because I mean, you figure, and it's funny to me because there's Rudy Giuliani not getting paid. There's plenty of money to pay him. They're just not going to. He's holding the bag.
I know.
He's holding the bag. Let's switch a couple. There's a couple other headlines I want to get into this segment, Trump related, and then we'll move on to different things. Although coming up in the next segment, we are going to get to how the party may change. This was interesting. I saw this just before I came into the studio, so I did read the article quickly. But Lindsey Graham warns Democrats against calling witnesses in Trump impeachment trial. That is the headline from the Huffington Post. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I once thought about it, but I'm not a lawyer. To me, Lindsey Graham warning Democrats against calling witnesses in Trump impeachment trial seems like something you would not be allowed to do, something along the lines of intimidation. Like, if you don't want somebody to do something, the last thing I've learned in my life is that you never tell them not to do it, because that makes them do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if you're a teenager sneaking out of the house. I don't care if you're a Democrat trying to impeach an ex-president. That seemed to me like the opportunity to try to intimidate witnesses in all of this. And of course, that impeachment trial stems back to January 6th. Lindsey Graham said that might open Pandora's box, a can of worms, if just one witness was brought forward in the Senate trial of Trump that begins next week. That's Lindsey Graham saying that to Fox News.
I don't even, I'd like to know in what context he's actually talking. You know, I mean, I don't even understand that. What witness could open a Pandora's box? Well,
here's what he said. And like I said, I read the article and I wanted to find the quote so I could answer your question. Here's what Lindsey Graham had to say. If you open up that can of worms by calling witnesses, we'll want the FBI to come in and tell us about how many people actually pre-planned these attacks and what happened with the security footprint at the Capitol. So essentially, from what I gained from that sentence, or a couple of sentences, is the intent would be to call in the FBI to essentially damnation of the Capitol Police Force and blame the Capitol Police Force for allowing people to breach the Capitol. To me, that sounds like you're turning on America. I mean, it's all bad. It's all bad from front to start, you know, from beginning to end. But how is one wrong going to be righted by another wrong? All of it was wrong.
I don't know. First of all, that is a good question to ask the Capitol Police. What the hell?
Yeah,
Y'all
it is.
You knew weeks before that this was in the making. Businesses didn't just decide to go to Lowe's and buy up all the plywood to cover their businesses with, you know? So if the axe has to fall on somebody in the Capitol Police Force, so be it. It's going to anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't understand how that's a threat. I just assumed that would be part of the conversation.
And as far as witnesses go, they all are.
Well, yeah,
and all the senators, all the staffers, all the representatives, you know, everybody that was in that building is a potential witness.
Yeah, I mean, some more so than others. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, since the 6th, we've heard stories about how it could be an inside job, how certain senators may have helped open the doors
Yeah.
14% of rioters at the Capitol on the 6th are either former or current military. Those people are trained to know how to get into places. They're trained in different specific disciplines to probably teach them how to track people down. I mean, that's a scary number in its own. I know 14% seems like a low number, but that's what we know so far. Those are of people that were arrested. Still, there are plenty of people out there that have not yet been arrested or identified.
Have you also heard the number that so many of these people that the FBI has actually gone out, been able to pick up and charge with something, didn't even vote?
I did. It's actually that is actually on my sheet. I was going to mention that in the next break, but yes, that's true. A lot of the people that have been arrested or were a part of the Capitol riots on January 6th didn't even cast a vote, which probably is even more bitter of a pill to swallow for President Trump to know. You didn't even vote. What would he rather have? You jump over this wall and damage the Capitol, or the fact that you could have actually gone out and voted? I kind of wonder. But yeah, they didn't vote.
I know it.
There's something going on there. That seems like a very odd set of circumstances. They didn't vote, but yet they were more than happy to go to jail.
How many people do you know, in the grand scheme of things, that bellyache all the time about the government, about the Congress, about the president, about our state governments, our local, and then you say, well, did you vote? No. Well, then don't bitch to me. That's my favorite saying every 2 years. If you don't vote, you can't bitch. It's that simple.
True enough. True enough. These people just didn't vote. They felt like going to jail, didn't feel like standing in line to cast their vote. What a strange story. When we come up in the next break, you want to talk about strange. We're gonna peel back some of the layers of Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's been some things. I know, Lola, you got plenty to say. You're never one that's short on words, and we are going to get into it. Your calls, too. 304-214-1600. It's all coming up next on The Watchdog.
Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 want to thank the owners and contractors of the Ohio Valley for using their locally trained workers to help build for the future. Local 83 helps design, fabricate, and build the gas infrastructure for the oil and gas industry here in the Ohio Valley. Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 is 300 members strong and growing. They also do residential, commercial, and industrial work on both sides of the river. For more information, call Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 at 304-233-4445.
Watch your favorite TV channels now with help from Menards. Receive local HD digital broadcast channels for free with the help of RCA antennas. Watch the big game or catch up on the latest shows without the need for a cable subscription or an internet connection. An RCA amplified indoor TV antenna is perfect for better reception. Pick it up now for $14.99 at Menards. Sale prices are good through Saturday, February 13th.
Save big money at Menards.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands is the perfect place to relax after a long day. Happy hour from 3 to 6 Monday through Friday. Get $2 off appetizers, $3 off domestic drafts, and house wine specials. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA. Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands with another steal of a deal. Get a steak burger and fries all day Monday for only $8.99. It's also Military Mondays. The Lube will take 25% off for all veterans, active duty military, and first responders. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA.
Hey man, what can I get you?
Yeah, can I have 2 Coors Lights?
You got it. Hey Mike! I need 2 Coors Lights!
Sure thing. With a taste as cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time. Here you go.
Thanks, Mike. Doing a great job. All right, 2 ice cold Coors Lights.
That's the coldest beer I've ever had.
Hey, they don't call it the world's most refreshing beer for nothing.
Okay, be honest with me. Do you really have the Rocky Mountains in your beer cooler?
You don't believe it? Check it out.
Man, that's pretty amazing.
I know, right? I can't believe it myself sometimes. I mean, this cooler is only 3 feet wide.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
Watch your favorite TV channels now with help from Menards. Receive local HD digital broadcast channels for free with the help of RCA antennas. Watch the big game or catch up on the latest shows without the need for a cable subscription or an internet connection. An RCA amplified indoor TV antenna is perfect for better reception. Pick it up now for $14.99 at Menards. Sale prices are good through Saturday, February 13th.
Save big money at Menards.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
West Virginia Metro News, I'm Jeff Jenkins. U.S. Senator Shalimar Capito says there was some progress made in that meeting last night. She and 9 other GOP senators had with President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris.
I hope that this was the first of many meetings, both with Republicans and Democrats, where we could have more civil discussions and not throw each other out with the if we disagree, then, you're obviously a moron or you don't love America or something of that nature.
The main discussion was on the next pandemic spending package. The GOP senators want the package cheaper, more targeted. You can read more from Capito at WVMetronews.com. U.S. Senator Joe Manchin out with a statement this afternoon on the issue, saying he'll vote to move the process along. But Manchin, who holds what many consider the key vote in the Senate, says he's told President Biden the new package needs to be targeted to those who need the help the most. State coronavirus czar Dr. Clay Marsh is sharing how West Virginia has rolled out its vaccination program. Marsh testifying today before a U.S. House subcommittee.
We were able to immunize all of our nursing home assisted living residents before the new year, and we've just finished on our second dose, which has been great because we know half of our deaths come from this population.
Marsh was invited by 1st District Congressman David McKinley. Neither of West Virginia's 2 groundhogs, French Creek Freddy nor Concord Charlie, saw their shadows today. That means in early spring. You're listening to Metro News, the voice of West Virginia. A few parts of the state are now digging out after the snow of the last 2 days. National Weather Service meteorologist John Peck says Preston County town got the most.
11 to 15 inch range toward Terra Alta.
You can see photos at WVMetronews.com. West Virginians heading south on Interstate 77 in Virginia know about Fancy Gap near the North Carolina line. High winds there earlier today blew over 4 tractor trailers. Gusts up to 70 miles an hour were recorded. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Jeff Jenkins.
He can talk up and down Route 2 and Route 7 at the same time. Just ask him. Keeping it real for your ride home. It's Real Big Talk with Big Rick on The Watchdog.
Walking through forests of palm tree apartments, scoff at the monkeys who live in their dark tents. Down by the water hole, drunk every Friday, eating their nuts, saving their raisins for Sunday. Lions and tigers who wait in the shadows, they're fast but they're lazy and sleep in green meadows. Well, that's hunger in the jungle. Well, that's all right.
It's Deep Cut Tuesday. I like it.
That since we're talking about Washington, D.C.
I think you're nailed it. And I'm sure somehow out there, if we scrub the internet enough, we will find probably some strange jungle-related comment made by Marjorie Taylor Greene. I definitely want your phone calls on this one. 304-214-1600. 304-214-1600 is the phone number. Have you really dove into some of this?
The more I hear, the scarier it gets. I'm glad to see Mitch McConnell's finally growing some semblance of a backbone.
Well, I will say this about Mitch. You're right. We'll start there. We'll start there. Mitch is finally condemning the things that Marjorie Taylor Greene says. I'll read this quote to you and we'll discuss. Loony lies and conspiracy theories are cancer for the Republican Party and our country. Someone who suggests that perhaps no airplane hit the Pentagon on 9/11, that horrifying school shootings were pre-staged, and that the Clintons crashed JFK Jr.'s airplane is
That's the most bizarre.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, it's not the most bizarre, but says is not living in reality. This has nothing to do with challenges facing American families or the robust debates on substance that can strengthen our party, end quote. Yeah, so that was one paragraph that Mitch McConnell had to say. Well, let's break some of these things down. Mitch is very cunning. For all the things that, and I don't like him either, all the things that I don't like about the guy, you can't say that he doesn't think out everything before he does it. Everything Mitch does is precise. It's at the time that benefits and suits him the most. So why did this just happen? Why did he come out and just say this? And I mean, it's not like she just showed that she's nuts. It's not like that just happened. Well, he has things to gain, and that's, I'm sure, why. And in some of it, of course, has to do with House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. He is set to meet with Greene this week to discuss some of her views and perhaps dole out some punishment for some of the things that she has said. So Mitch waits till the moment that he can get the most out of whatever he's saying. And to be fair to all parties, I kind of wish everyone waited to the right moment and just didn't blurt things out. I find it crazy that Marjorie Taylor Greene is on the education committee.
I don't even understand.
I mean, astonishing. You want to talk about how screwy of a nation we are? That woman is supposed to help push education forward. That's a thing. I'm going to give you some of her other theories as well. Just other things that she has said. I found an interesting article about this that kind of puts some of them together. She believes that Muslims don't belong in government. Apparently, she has never looked around Washington, D.C. to see there are other people there besides just her. 9/11 was an inside job. Shootings at Parkland, Sandy Hook, and in Las Vegas were all staged. They were all staged. Leading Democratic officials should be executed. Would have been interesting to know what she thought about the giant gallows that was hanging in front of the Capitol waiting for Mike Pence. That is all insane. But last night I had a fun conversation with a couple of friends of mine, and we decided that giant Jewish space lasers were collectively our favorite. At one point, we kind of joked that didn't the giant Jewish space lasers open up for Led Zeppelin in the 60s? That was kind of our ongoing joke last night. But at the end of the day, this is not a joke. This woman thinks the forest fires in California were started by Jewish space lasers. Now, there's so much about this that is not funny, but it's very real. This person is an elected official. Somewhere people just said, you know what? You know who represents us the best? Marjorie Taylor Greene.
That is, aside from her just being nuts, People everywhere have very strange ideas about things and don't necessarily stay in reality. But there is an entire senatorial district that evidently thinks along those lines, or doesn't find the things she says particularly crazy, to have elected her. That's the scariest part.
It is. It's crazy, crazy scary. She also tweeted Friday that she raised $1.6 million off all of the controversy, and on Saturday told her 300,000 plus followers that she just had a chat with a very supportive Donald Trump, and that the former president has referred to her as a, quote, future Republican star.
Now, according to other things that I have read, Trump has not made a remark about her at all. He has distanced himself from her by a great deal. And the fact that I think it was one of the Sandy Hook moms, spoke to her. Somehow she was able to talk to her by phone. And this Green told her, no, really, I believe that happened, but you'll never get me to say it publicly. If that is true, and I'm not calling the mom a liar, then she's been lying to all of her constituents all along with all this crazy talk.
Color me shocked.
Well, I know that. Yeah, I like that color on you.
Yeah?
But when I heard that, it was like, you couldn't get any more political than that. No. Well, off the record, this is the way I believe, but on the record, fire and brimstone, conspiracy theory, it's just.
Yeah, it's crazy. Of course, we've talked about it on the show, and I don't think any of us really truly understand it. And if I knew who to get on the phone who truly did understand the whole QAnon thing, I would ask them to join us, because it's so hard to, if you have any semblance of a normal-ish mind, I'm not saying you can't be crazy. I'm just, this QAnon stuff is beyond understanding for anybody that has any rational sense. But that's who this woman is. I mean, she's QAnon. She's a QAnon follower. And I just read what she wrote about a conversation that she had with Donald Trump. I would imagine you will see in the next couple of weeks, days, that generally everybody will distance themselves from her. There's the sect of the population that was all on the QAnon train is dwindling. Even one of the high chiefs of QAnon have told people to go back to their normal lives. This wasn't a thing. If she is going to ride this to the end, that's none of my business, I suppose. But I would imagine everyone, all parties involved, are going to slowly back away. My biggest concern is the fact that there was an entire district that said, yeah, this is the right person for us. That's just terrifying. Of course, the Dems are looking to remove her from all the committees that she's on, and they do have, there is a meeting coming up with Minority House Leader McCarthy to dole out some punishment for some of these outlandish things. She's not going to resign. I mean, that's just not going to happen. I mean, she said she's not going to, and I don't think I think at this point she just loves the publicity.
Well, sure she does. This is, anytime you can get all kinds of media coverage and you don't have to pay for it, it's a good thing.
Yeah, And I would like to see the actual accounting numbers of the support that's coming into her. I would really like to see that, because I believe that people probably are funding this insanity. Like, I wanted to make this point, and I oftentimes, especially when people call and they want to go too far to things that are not related, I try to stop that. You know, if someone calls and has a thing to say about Trump and it's also connected to something that's way over here about Obama, well, I usually stop that because it doesn't make sense. So I try not to do it myself either, but I just want to point this out there, and by no means am I the person who's screaming, just open up the border and let people in. But if you want specific vetting for everyone that comes in this country, we should probably also specifically vet everyone who is going to work for this country. How did this slip past? How did this slip past?
It didn't slip past. I knew about her a year or more ago. When she first started becoming a figure that people were talking about, good, bad, or indifferent. But I will take, I suppose that some people, and I can see this argument, she's entitled to believe whatever she wants to believe. The fact that people voted her in with those beliefs says, that this is a country where, if you win an election, you win. And what are we arguing or hearing still continued arguments about that? Who really won the election? Well, the person that got the most votes did, and everybody should accept that. So under the same argument, she was elected, and, it is what it is. She represents a group of people that voted in the majority to have her, take a seat in the Senate. I mean, I'm not advocating it. I'm just saying that what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you're going to argue that, the most votes wins, then you have to argue that for her too. The most votes wins.
I can't believe that's a person that got the most. Not because
I
she's...
can't believe I'm defending her, but it's,
Well, I don't think you're defending her. I think you're just creating that's correct. What you're saying is absolutely correct. Doesn't make any sense.
No,
but it's absolutely correct. It is going to be interesting to see how this continues to develop. And how are people perceiving some of these things, from January 6th to people who continue to support the idea of the whole stop the steal and that Trump won the election? The Republicans, and why, and this comes back to the beginning of the conversation, why did Mitch McConnell choose now? Why is he actually speaking up? I'd like to believe, I think most people would like to believe, because he realizes this is absurd. But there's probably other reasons. And I found this article on NPR, so I know somebody's probably out there going, "Oh, it's NPR." Well, I get it. The Republican Party is losing voters like crazy. And I don't necessarily think everybody's deciding that they want to be Democrats all of a sudden. I think they just want to distance themselves from the Republican Party. Big chunks in Pennsylvania, Colorado, North Carolina, and Arizona. 10,000 people have switched their political party in the month of January in Pennsylvania alone.
To what, independent?
Yes.
Yeah.
Some have gone Democrat, but yeah, they just distanced themselves from the Republican Party. 5,000 in Arizona, 6,000, and they're calling it defections from the party, 6,000 in North Carolina. Well, those are places that, Trump won Pennsylvania. And now 10,000 people have decided that they're no longer going to, side with the Republican Party. This is I know it sounds crazy, because it doesn't sound like a huge number when you think about the number of people in states like North Carolina, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. But that's a pretty big number in states that are as close as they are.
Well, and it's early.
Yeah, I mean, this is one.
People don't usually, switch their parties until it gets around to primary time, especially like in West Virginia, you have to declare a party. If you say independent, there's very few things you can vote for. So a lot of people hold off and wait until it's time, for the primaries before they make a switch like that. But these are states where, they were Republican, and all of a sudden, according to the National, the RNC, their votes didn't count. They were trying to strip these people away from their votes. And, particularly like all the challenge states, Arizona, Pennsylvania, the Carolinas for the most part, So I get it. They don't feel like the Republican Party represents what they have been voting for all this time.
And I think that's why some of these crazy, outlandish things that are being said, especially, I mean, you want to talk about dying on that hill. As a lot of people have distanced themselves from that, Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to die on that Trump hill. And I think that that's why Mitch McConnell chose now to step up. He's seeing these numbers of people that are exiting the party and are future GOP voters, and just went, now I have to do something. I have to do something. Whatever the reformed, moving forward leaders of the GOP, whoever they will be, I saw, was it Klinzinger was, and we can get to that a little later, is trying to start his own PAC to kind of reform this GOP and distance themselves from Trump. I think if it's not going to be a Trump-related third party, it's going to be some sort of inner squad GOP party that separates from the loyalists of Trump.
Well, they have to do something, because when push came to shove, some of those ideas were so polarizing.
Sure.
And if you want to grow your party, you have to prove, not just say, you have to prove that you are going to be more inclusive and more tolerant. And the only way to do that is really put Trump in your rearview mirror and don't look back. The other day, somebody on Facebook just posed the question, and it looked like something that had been copied and shared, just the question itself. Was the outcome of the presidential election valid? And I thought, I'm going to scroll through. Everybody that posted on it said no, it was stolen. And I'm thinking, at this point in time, you still believe that? And when you listen to some of the texts and phone calls that Hoppy gets, and believe me, he tries, he's putting out the correct factual information. And these people just, they're attacking him personally.
Oh yeah, I've heard
because he's not backing this stop the steal thing. I don't know what more anybody can do or say.
Well, that's the thing. We've become a society full of irrational people. You can ask somebody, people can vent, people can tell you why they're mad. But when you ask somebody to, okay, well, give me the facts to what led you to this feeling, it becomes combative instead of conversational. Well, I believe that there were this, and this shows this, and this in Georgia. That doesn't exist anymore because it doesn't exist. They went back, they counted it again, they counted it again. And I don't know, it's kind of like a movie that you've watched 50 times in your life. Like, just say Happy Gilmore for me. A silly, stupid, brain candy movie like Happy Gilmore. It's like believing, if I watch it the 51st time, that he's going to lose the golf tournament, lose the girl, and not get grandma's house back. Yeah. That's exactly what this is. It becomes you're kind of hoping that if you watch the same thing over and over again, that it will change.
Isn't that the definition of insanity?
It is.
Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
It is 100% the definition of insanity. And that's the thing, it's not going to change. None of it's going to change. But if you don't have any facts, you just think it's going to, you're never going to be able to be rational or reasonable about it. There is no ration, rhyme, or reason about it. You can only do so many things, so many times, and show so many things. If you're not going to believe it, doesn't matter how much evidence you have. You're just flat out not going to believe it. We'll get a little lighter on things. Sports is going to come up next. Got some headlines with that. This is Real Big Talk on the Watchdog.
I saw him dancing there by the record machine. I knew he must have been about 17. He was strong, playing my favorite song.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. Dueling impeachment filings show a major argument will be constitutional. ABC's Aaron Katursky.
His lawyers argued the Constitution does not allow the Senate to put former President Trump on trial because he has left office. The Senate, the defense said, lacks jurisdiction over the 45th president because he holds no public office from which he can be removed. House impeachment managers said in their filing a former official remains subject to trial and conviction for abuses committed in office. The Democrats said there is no January exception to impeachment or any other provision of the Constitution.
The Biden administration launching the first retail rollout of COVID vaccine.
Roughly 6,500 pharmacies across the U.S. will be part of the first phase. White House COVID coordinator Jeff Zients says,
starting on February 11th, the federal government will deliver vaccines directly to select pharmacies across the country.
The initial push will include 1 million doses, but Zients says eventually they hope to scale it up to include millions of doses, going to tens of thousands of pharmacies across the U.S.
This is a key component of President Biden's national strategy.
Mark Remillard, ABC News.
On the COVID relief package, Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the president's having a virtual lunch meeting that includes Republicans.
There is some time. That's why the president is in great gauging, why he did with Republicans last night, Democrats today, and why he's conveyed that he would like to continue doing that in the days ahead.
Republicans in Georgia's state Senate are moving quickly to limit who can vote and how after Democrats won the presidential election and 2 Senate runoffs in the once reliably red state. Democrats say the bills are unnecessary and will suppress legal votes. The bills, among other things, ban ballot drop boxes and block outside groups from sending out absentee ballot applications. Georgia elections officials, judges, and lawmakers have determined there was no widespread voter fraud. A Russian court orders opposition leader Alexei Navalny to a prison camp for over 2 years on probation violations. You're listening to ABC News.
What do you get when you talk to a Dell Technologies advisor? You get someone who understands there's an art to listening.
Sure.
Who's able to hear more than what's being said and can provide tailored small business solutions that make you feel truly heard.
I understand. Let's get started.
For advice on everything from laptops to the cloud and solutions powered by Intel vPro platform, call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL.
Microban 24 protects against Staphylococcus aureus and Enterobacter aerogenes bacteria, but does not provide 24-hour protection against viruses. Every time you touch a surface, you leave behind bacteria. To keep surfaces sanitized all day, use Microban 24 sanitizing spray. Spray on hard surfaces to kill 99.9% of viruses and bacteria initially, including the virus that causes COVID-19. Once dry, Microban 24 sanitizing spray is effective for 24 hours on bacteria when used as directed.
As human rights activists sound the alarm about the military coup in Myanmar and protests in Russia, Here's the connection with the U.S. from ABC News senior foreign correspondent Ian Pannell.
We already saw authoritarians around the world almost rub their hands in glee at some of the scenes in the United States and said, well, look, don't lecture us on how to run a country. Look at the mess you're making of it. If that's what democracy looks like, we don't want it. President Biden, this is one of his first real tests, this and protests that we've seen in Russia as well.
While the race is on to end the COVID pandemic, experts are trying to understand how it started.
There are two big medical testing facilities in Wuhan, China, the Hubei Provincial Centers for Disease Control and the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which studies some of the world's deadliest pathogens. Both labs collect live animals to study viruses, and a year ago, some scientists had warned about the possibility of human infection. The Chinese government has denied the coronavirus came from any of its labs, but this week, World Health Organization scientists are taking a closer look. Wearing full protective gear, they have toured the facilities, describing them as excellent and their meetings as informative. They aren't releasing any other details. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
The North Carolina Division of Motor Vehicles is no longer issuing specialty license plates featuring the Confederate battle flag. Reason? Complaints, says the DMV. It has up to now been issued to members of the Sons of Confederate Veterans Organization. This is ABC News.
Gary is refinancing his home, so he shopped around for the lowest rate and found it at Amerisave.com, setting him up for a lifetime of savings. It's one decision he'll never regret, unlike taking that gig in the testing lab at the deodorant company.
Raise your arm, please. Oh, man, I hate this job.
Pretty regrettable, Gary. Unlike finding that low mortgage rate at Amerisave.com that's got you on your way to a lifetime of savings. Amerisave's rates won't be this low forever, so go to Amerisave.com now. Lower mortgage rates mean higher savings. Call 866-514-SAVE or visit Amerisave.com/licensing for cost information, terms, and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all states except New York. NMLS number 1168.
Chuck Severson, ABC News.
Menards has the flooring you need to give your home a fresh look. Check out our great selection of Shaw flooring. Durable laminate flooring can be installed over most floors. Repel Cumberland laminate flooring is water resistant, making it good for any room in your home. Plus, it's available in 3 unique wood grain finishes. It's only $219 a square foot now at Menards. Sale prices are good through Saturday, February 13th.
Save big money at Menards.
The weather will affect you every day, whether it's good or bad. The Storm Tracker 7 weather team is here to make sure you're never surprised. You can trust us to help you plan your day.
36 degrees here in Wheeling.
On TV, online, on your phone, our experienced meteorologists are here to help you prepare for what's ahead. Watch the Storm Tracker 7 weather team with Zach Petty, Aaron Myler, and me, Dr. Dave Walker. Weather coverage you can count on, working for you.
CA House Music has all the gear to make your music legendary. With all the best gear, including Fender, Epiphone, Yamaha, and more, CA House will have you rocking in no time. Get the most for your money with everyday low prices. And we meet or beat internet pricing. Play before you buy and let our product specialists help you pick out the instrument that's right for you. CA House Music, supporting local musicians since 1872. Play music for life.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the watchdog trusts.
Dutch Boy's new Platinum Plus paint with Stain Shield technology has the performance you expect from a luxury paint at a price you didn't. Platinum Plus is up to 50% more washable and stain resistant than a leading premium paint in satin sheen. Superiority ranges from 24 to 50% depending on sheen selected. Platinum Plus keeps your walls looking new longer. Menards and Dutch Boy Paint have you covered. Go ahead, live your life.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster. Weather look at your local weather forecast for your Tuesday. Mostly cloudy and cold right through the afternoon. A daytime high near 30 degrees. Overnight low of 23 degrees. Mostly cloudy. Stays mostly cloudy for your Wednesday. A few peaks of sunshine. Temperatures near the freezing mark through the day. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors. He's not your father's talk show host, but your dad can listen too. Real Talk is right here, right here. Real Big Talk with Big Rick is on the Watchdog.
smoke. Look what's going on inside you. Ooh, that smell. Can't you smell that smell? Ooh, that smell. The smell of death's around you.
It's 3:08. I'm Big Rick. That's Lola. And that's Leonard Skinner. Well, you want to talk about a band that, and one of the albums is called Street Survivor. That band is filled with people that can survive anything. They're still going. Leonard Skinner, after a plane crash, that song is about, I think it was Gary Rossington wrapping his car around a tree and living. I mean, it's wild. The things that band has been through are absolutely wild. Lola, yesterday, I went on my disgrace for Major League Baseball and how they handle everything. Well, it turns out that I probably should have given the players a little more credit. Major League Baseball was planning for an on-time start because the players' union rejected the 154-game proposal. We talked about it yesterday, and basically what happened was they went to the players and were opting to give them the full pay for the 162 games for the 2021 season, but they rejected it. Teams are scheduled to open camp February 17th, and opening day is set for April 1st. As long as long-term agreements are reached on health and safety protocols between the league and the Players Association, and what they were pushing back was till March 22nd, and then starting the season on April 28th. The Players Association rejected the proposal, citing the lack of salary or service time protections in the event of any delays or cancellations due to COVID-19, while advocating for an on-time start. It is also said it opposed expanding the playoffs. The league said in its statement that those rules, the rule changes for the playoffs last year, were overwhelmingly popular with the fans. Well, let's go through it line by line. Yeah, they were popular. I mean, baseball could use a shakeup. And they did shake it up a little bit last year with obviously a much shortened season. It was only 60 games, and it allowed more teams to get into the playoffs, which gave some hope to teams that are fringe teams. Not, of course, the Pittsburgh Pirates, who only won 19 of their 60 games, and probably will only win 19 of their 162 games this season. But it was more exciting. And the players rejected the idea of expanding the playoffs. What do you think about that?
I don't understand why they would reject that idea. I really don't. Especially if you're a perennial bubble team.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You know, I'm sure that I shouldn't say I'm sure. I don't know. I'd like to see what players' representatives voted for or against. But I would imagine some of those Yankees, Dodgers, Angels, Astros, some of those teams that are always there.
Then why do they care?
Well, it really wouldn't look very good for an organization that's spending $1 billion a season on salary to get knocked out by a team like Tampa Bay. Which happened last year. I mean, Tampa Bay made it last year with the second or third smallest payroll in the league.
Yeah.
Half of those guys are former Pirates, by the way.
Yeah.
But, I mean, still, that's probably why. That's probably why they overwhelmingly rejected it. I mean, I guess it's good that baseball's going to start on time, and I still love to watch baseball. But, again, follow the money. What are the players worried about? Well, health and safety protocols. I agree. They should be worried about that. The league should be worried about that. Everybody should be worried about health and safety protocols. But when it came down to it, they'll get those things locked in. They just want to make sure that they have protection against the league not starting on time for whatever reason, and make sure that they get paid for all 162 games. the worst baseball player in the league who's playing on a full-time MLB contract generally makes more than 80% of players in the NHL. I mean, even the big names in the NHL, the Crosbys, the McDavids, the Ovechkins of the world, really are making average baseball player salaries in a lot of cases, just to give you a comparison. So it's not like any of these players are not raking in a high amount of cash. But that's what it was all about, again, for Major League Baseball and its Players Association. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. Speaking of money, this will make plenty of it. Lola, do you ever get into the gaming much? Yeah. Nah, it's not really my thing either. I have a PlayStation, an older one. I know that the new one's out. People went crazy over. People are spending $1,000 on something that's yeah, it's $500. But if you're lucky enough to find one, which I think it's still hard to do, Christmas time I saw people selling them for $1,500, $2,000, and people were paying for it. That was really, you want to talk about a quick flip. Get one of those and put it on Facebook Marketplace. But this is going to be huge for the gaming community. EA Sports to do college football video game. People were very upset after the last NCAA football game came out in 2013, and the possibility of it ever returning was in limbo. It looks like it is coming back. If you are a gamer or you have somebody in your family that is, if they like football, they will be excited about this. It's been for the video game community, which it is really a community. It's actually a professional sport.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I made the mistake one day of, I read a headline about some famous video gamer was retiring and choosing to coach. So I made a snide comment about it on my personal Facebook page. Man, I got roasted. It was, apparently this is a huge thing, and because my comment was, if you're a professional video gamer, why do you ever have to retire? You're not like Cal Ripken. You haven't played. You don't have to, your body doesn't necessarily have to stay in the peak physical condition to play video games.
Well, the level those guys play at, you couldn't do it if you had like a heart thing, that's a stressful thing.
I'm sure it is stressful. I mean, there's also the idea of maybe your eyes go bad. I don't know. But I just thought it was kind of odd that someone is going to hang it up from playing competitive video games to just go coach competitive video games. I just thought that was kind of a wild thought.
Dan just called, and they get controller thumb, where at some point in time their thumbs just don't work. It's like turf toe for a football player.
Okay, I can believe that.
Their thumbs won't work right.
So you leave it all behind. You walk off like Jeter, a hit at your final at bat at Yankee Stadium, and go become a video game coach.
And make oodles and oodles and oodles of money.
I know. I honestly, like I said, it was my stupid mistake. I got absolutely lambasted over calling this out. So I know that NCAA football is going to be a huge deal for the gaming community. That is expected to come back, and people will absolutely lose their minds. Here, we'll weave in some nice stories, too, throughout our sports report here. You're welcome to call, too, like Dan just did. He wanted to give us the heads up on how that works, the gamer thumb. But all your comments and questions are welcome, 304-214-1600. 304-214-1600. Also available to you via text at that number. And you can chat with us live during the live stream at The Watchdog on Facebook. This was kind of cool. It happened in Penn Hills, PA, not too far from where my mom lives in Oakmont. The head football coach at Penn Hills said lifting is canceled today due to inclement weather, which a lot of schools obviously go through. Get out and shovel your neighbor's sidewalk and driveway. Well, I thought that's a nice alternative.
Good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Send the kids out there, get a shovel. I mean, because I don't know about you, how much snow you got at your house, but at my house, in this whole total, we probably got 7 or 8 inches.
I don't know.
Yeah, and
Somebody made a snow remark or snow shoveling remark today, and I said, nope, I'm going to let the sun take care of it. If anybody's complains about my sidewalk, walk out on the street because it's really icy, and if you fall, the city's got more money than I do.
There you go. Probably not a bad strategy if you're looking to make gains from that. But yeah, I thought this was kind of cool. Get out there and shovel your neighbor's driveway, walkways, sidewalk, and get your lifting in that way. I've shoveled quite a bit of snow this year. More so this year, I feel like I've shoveled than. And now, granted, last winter I spent living in Florida, so not a lot of snow there. And I lived in North Carolina for a year. Didn't get on the Atlantic Beach, like near Atlantic Beach, so we didn't get much snow there at all. I think it dusting one time and the whole state shut down.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ridiculous. I was like,
seriously, Payball?
The office called. And I mean, I was a radio DJ. I mean, it was like the office called. If you can't make it in, just tell us. And I looked outside and went, make it in from what? But if you don't live there and you grew up in a state where there's snow, I was just like, yeah, I'll be there. Like, we're good. But yeah, some people do that. I thought it was kind of a nice thing. I've been shoveling a lot more snow than usual. Coach John Ladone told him to go out and shovel. Good for him.
Did you happen to see the video that some superintendent of a school district in Connecticut, all these schools now, it's a snow day, so it's remote learning. And I feel, okay, so you don't want to miss 20 days from snow. But come on, we had a good snowfall, let the kids go out and play. He made this video, and I forget the song that he rewrote the words for, but it was absolutely brilliant, just telling all the kids, close your computers, close your computers, close your computers. Blew up Zoom on a screen, and then went out and was playing in the snow just like the kids would do, making snow angels and everything. And I thought, that is so cool. He said, it's a snow day. It's not a remote learning day. It is a snow day. And that good for you.
Yeah, I think the first time we saw that was, I guess was the end of 2020. And it started with a school, and I don't remember what school, and so I'm sure somebody will call and tell us, or Texas, but it was a school in West Virginia where the superintendent was like, no, it's a snow day.
Snow day.
And a lot of people followed suit, and I thought that was really wonderful. I guess you get to the point where is a remote learning day going to give a kid more of a chance to be a kid or catch up in school? Like, I can get why it's something that people are hot about. Hey, we've already missed so many days of learning as it is. We can't afford to lose another day of learning. Well, you know what? Someone should probably come up with some exercises, brain exercises, that you can learn outside from
playing in the snow.
Weighing the weight of a snowball. Just do something like that if you wanted to do. But yeah, I get it. I mean, I can't tell you, as much as like I mentioned to you yesterday, I wasn't sure that I would be able to make it to work because our road hadn't been plowed and it's a private road. And if it doesn't get plowed, I just can't get off. I can't get off the hill. And the thought of not being able to come to work, it sucked. But there was part of me that just kind of wanted to go run around in my yard with my dog and just throw. I throw it snowballs and it catches them and runs around with them until they melt. And that is fun. That's fun if you're 43. It's fun if you're 13.
Yeah.
So I agree. But I thought that was kind of cool. The coach said, go out there and shovel your neighbor's driveway, get some work in, and do something with yourself. We'll move to hockey news. Pens lose last night at Madison Square Garden, 2-1. For a team that has started 12 different defensemen in this season. 12. You heard that right. 9, 10 games in. 12 different defensemen. All of the guys that you honestly would know if you were just a casual hockey fan or listened to a sports report. Most of those guys aren't in. Letang, Dumoulin, not playing. Well, the Pens actually have an opportunity to get some of those guys healthy or healthier because they will not play tonight or on Thursday. Both games against the New Jersey Devils have been postponed because the Devils have a COVID outbreak. They have 4 or 5 players on the COVID protocol list. It is not said, it has not mentioned here when those games will be made up. It does say they're now postponed for a later date. We mentioned this a little earlier this week. What does that mean? Is the NHL just going to extend the season as much as it wants? And it can. It's not like the Super Bowl. It's not like the NFL where they go, the Super Bowl gets played on this weekend. That's how this works. The NHL probably has a little more time, and they learned how to play essentially hockey in the summer, the deep summer, this past summer when they did the Cup over the course of summer months, which was awkward as hell to watch. I mean, I know the Stanley Cup is usually awarded in June, essentially, but the NHL, I guess, can probably do that. But if they start to rack up too many, they're only 10 games into the season, they start to rack up too many of these, I wonder how that will go. But just not only a programming note, but just a sports note. Pens are off tonight and Thursday. They will resume play on Saturday. I did watch the game last night when I went home from here, and the Pens stink on offense. They can score goals. They stink on the power play. Let me be more specific. They are atrocious. Evgeny Malkin, who, again, any casual hockey fan has heard that name, he is playing like a guy who doesn't want to play hockey anymore. Like, not just in a slump, because slumps happen, but slumps you can still move the puck and be a productive member of the team. He's taking up space. Like, it's really troublesome as a hockey fan, as a Penguin fan, to see the struggles of Evgeny Malkin. It is just not good. He did do a press conference the other day and talked about his self-reflection. He knows he's not playing his best hockey right now and what he needs to do to get better. And here's the thing, though. You keep putting him out on the power play and he keeps giving the puck away. At some point, leaving him in there is a detriment to the team.
Yeah.
Leaving him on the power play last night was most certainly a detriment to the team. They can't score power play goals, which is odd. You think about the team, the core players that power play have been together for a long time. Malkin, Crosby, and Letang. Letang is injured and didn't play last night, but the core members of that team have been on the same power play for a long time. Jake Gensel, who's obviously a good scorer, is available. Brian Rust is a good scorer and available. Dumoulin's out. He's not playing on the point. So, I mean, the point work is a little different, but, man, they're just not good. They're just not good. Couple other Pittsburgh-related news stories, things that are just kind of popping up. The Pirates are going to allow some fans at spring training games. They're going to say about 25% or 2,000 fans at their Bradenton spring training facility. Of course, that'll start later this month. Ironically, 2,000 fans in Bradenton will be more than would go to any other regular season Pirate game on a weekday if the games for people were allowed in PNC Park. I mean, and that's not me just being a jerk. That's me just telling you. Go to a game on a Tuesday at PNC Park, you can count the number of people that you can see sitting in the stands. So Bradenton is probably going to be the hot spot for Pirate fans to actually go and watch baseball. Plus, I don't think Tom Wolfe is going to allow fans in the stands anyway.
I don't either.
Even if you were so inclined to go watch the Pirates AAA team who plays in a major league city, in a major league ballpark, you would not be able to go, even if you wanted to, because no one will be allowed to go. It hasn't come out, and it hasn't been said for sure, because there's still some time. The numbers are down across the board as far as COVID infections in Allegheny County and all of Pennsylvania. Of course, in West Virginia, we've talked quite a bit about that. I still don't see it. Only 1,000 people are allowed into basketball games at WVU in the Coliseum. I think it's only 1,000. So, yeah, I mean, slim amount of fans allowed into places now. Even outdoors at PNC Park, I don't see Tom Wolfe overly letting a lot of people be able to go to a game. Other Pittsburgh stuff related news, the Steelers should be happy about this, and I think it's a total crock. I think this whole thing is a crock, but I will report it because it's a new thing. A new survey ranks Pittsburgh as the best place for football fans to live and love the game. Well, I would imagine Green Bay and Kansas City certainly have something to say about that. But I thought this was quite frankly, a stupid number. Pittsburgh ranks number one overall as well as in pro football fans, and it comes in 13th for college football fans. Have you ever seen a Pitt game on TV? There is nobody there. There's nobody there. My best friend is a Pitt season ticket holder, and I go with him as often as I can. I went to him a couple games, even against Penn State 2 years ago. We sat in the rain to watch the game. It was overwhelmingly filled with Penn State fans. That number is a crock. I can think of 13 cities I can name off the top of my head that I've actually been to that are much, much better of a football city. I mean, I don't know where Morgantown ranks. It wasn't in there as far as college football fans, but Morgantown has to be much higher than Pitt. Nobody goes to Pitt games because nobody cares, because Pitt stinks.
Ann Arbor.
Oh, Ann Arbor.
Columbus.
Well, I mean, really, you could even throw Cincinnati into that list, because look at the way the Cincinnati program has come on. Absolutely. Notre Dame. There's Florida State. Easily, those two. Texas, Oklahoma. My goodness, you could even throw Iowa State in there. Look at the way people are coming out to watch Iowa State games these days. I just thought that was an absolute crock. And I will end sports on this note. As you get ready to prepare for the Super Bowl, just know, especially if you were a Steeler fan, this is going to stink. Because if you watch the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win, just know Antonio Brown will secure a $750,000 bonus if the Buccaneers beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. So not only did he burn you as a Steeler, you may have to watch that man win $750,000 on Sunday if the Buccaneers win. And quite frankly, it's hard to think that they won't. We're going to wrap that up. We'll be back with some more stuff. We'll also take your phone calls next on The Watchdog.
I'm Josh from Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. I hope you are staying healthy. We continue to respond to structural, fire, and water emergencies. We are combating COVID-19 with our highly trained staff and latest disinfection systems, providing preventative and reactive disinfection to facilities around the region, while working with area hospitals on isolation areas and air filtering. At Panhandle, we continue to follow social distancing and hygiene protocols. We are dedicated to our community, and together, we will get through this.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
CA House Music has all the gear to make your music legendary. With all the best gear, including Fender, Epiphone, Yamaha, and more, CA House will have you rocking in no time. Get the most for your money with everyday low prices. And we meet or beat internet pricing. Play before you buy and let our product specialists help you pick out the instrument that's right for you. CA House Music, supporting local musicians since 1872. Play music for life.
Dutch Boy's new Platinum Plus paint with Stain Shield technology has the performance you expect from a luxury paint at a price you didn't. Platinum Plus is up to 50% more washable and stain resistant than a leading premium paint in satin sheen. Superiority ranges from 24 to 50% depending on sheen selected. Platinum Plus keeps your walls looking new longer. Menards and Dutch Boy Paint have you covered. Go ahead, live your life.
Most of us are faced with uncertainty every day. Your job, your finances, sporting events, schooling for your children, and so much more. With so much uncertainty surrounding you, there is one auto dealership that you can be certain about, and that's Doan Ford. You can be certain that you always get a great deal and the best service afterwards. Being in business for over 50 years has given Doan Ford the reputation of being a strong, reliable dealership. Be certain. Choose Doan Ford. Online at doanford.com.
I'm not buying till I check Doan Ford.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Hey, I'm going to the kitchen. Can I grab you a Coors Light?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Huh. I never knew there was a zip line in my fridge. Hey! Hey, buddy! Yeah? You got 2 Coors Lights up there?
You got it!
Always brewed down to 34 degrees. With a taste as cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time.
Here you go, 2 Coors Lights.
Awesome, man. Wow, these are really cold.
That's the only way I deliver it.
Sure, I mean, you being a mountain climber and all.
Yep.
You probably need a pretty warm coat in there, huh?
Yep.
Hey, Ben!
Yeah!
Ask him if he has any nachos.
You got any nachos in there?
No.
Just icy cold Coors Light?
Yep.
That makes sense. It is the Rockies.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
The Mountaineers shoot for a win in Ames. Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Caridi. That story coming up on today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger.
Did you know that 1 in 8 Americans struggle with hunger? Yet more than 40% of the food we produce is thrown out. At Kroger, we know we can do something about this. We're donating more food to local food banks through our partnership with Feeding America. And we're working with World Wildlife Fund to end food waste. But we can't do it alone. And we hope you'll join us in creating a world with zero hunger and zero waste. Visit thekrogerco.com to learn how you can help.
Love getting prices that are lower than low on backyard favorites like grill-ready hamburgers and fresh-picked strawberries? Then shop at Kroger. We give you more ways to save on the fresh you love with tools like the Kroger app, where you can find personalized coupons on top of weekly sales. Plus, rewards like fuel points, giving you prices that are lower than the everyday low. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
For all of the incredible success that the Iowa State football team had this past fall, the basketball team is on the other side of the spectrum. Going into tonight's game against the Mountaineers, Iowa State is 2-9 overall. They are 0-6 in Big 12 play, just 2-5 at home at Hilton Coliseum, normally a very difficult place for an opposing team to win. Back on Saturday in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, they got absolutely run off of the floor at Mississippi State, losing by a score of 95-56, but it kind of makes sense when you consider that they were so shorthanded. In fact, they played with just the Big 12 minimum 6 scholarship players in that game. However, they are expected to have at least 2 of those players back for tonight's contest. Rasheer Bolton, their point guard, continues to play well. He comes into this one averaging 16 points and 5 rebounds to go along with 4 assists. He's had double figures in 10 of Iowa State's last 11 games. Overall, West Virginia has the series lead, 10 victories to 8. However, Iowa State has the advantage in games played in Ames. They've won 5 of the 8 contests. Steve Prohm, the head coach, has a knack for beating ranked teams. He's got 17 wins against top 25 teams, which is the 3rd most in school history. And despite their problems with COVID and everything else, they did give Texas a scare earlier this season, losing in Austin by just 6 points. Tip-off tonight is set for 7 o'clock. Our pregame coverage begins at 6. That is today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.
It's not red. It's not blue. It's just real. Real Big Talk with Big Rick continues now on the Watchdog.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Big Rick. That's Lola. This is Real Big Talk. Yesterday, we had a couple of folks on with us that talked to us about Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. Cindy and Lori joined us. And those are difficult conversations to have. And so it stuck with me yesterday. I thought about it quite a bit after we had that conversation. And then last night I saw a few things, and there had been a few things lingering in the news that I kind of wanted to put all together into one segment. And as much as I hate to say it this way, a lot of things kind of came together to fill an entire segment on subjects about dating and violence. And I wanted to try to bring some of them to light. I'll take your phone calls on at 304-214-1600. What I read last night, AOC came out and said she is a survivor of sexual assault. And that happened when she was describing the trauma of the Capitol insurrection, and her saying that she was a survivor of sexual assault. And the amount of vile comments that were hurled at her after that took place. Every major news outlet in the world picked up that story. Now, this is such a sensitive subject because you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. If you don't believe her, you're trash. And if you instantly believe everything she says, you're damning to whoever didn't get a chance to defend themselves. And you know what? This is both of those things are true that I just said. It is a enormous catch-22 to where you can't win in a situation like this. No one wins in a situation like this, but your thoughts on it make you one way or the other. First of all, if someone feels like they went through something like that and speaks out about it, if you have doubt, you need to give them the benefit of the doubt until they are able to explain it. Because what a terrible thing. I've never been through that. I have no idea how awful it is, but I assume it really messes with your life. And in turn, in our 2021 cancel culture that we're in, when people name names, those names should have a chance to describe what happened and defend themselves. Doesn't make them right. It means we now live in a society where you're guilty before proven innocent. And I will just say that I had to stop reading. I had to stop reading it. You don't have to like her as a lawmaker. You don't even have to like her as a person. I don't like her as a lawmaker, and I don't know her as a person. But I know that no human being should have to deal with that. And if they do, it should be treated with sensitivity. And just the vile things that people write because you don't like someone politically is disgusting. Is disgusting. What is wrong? Where are your parents? How do you instantly turn to that?
Again, keyboard warriors. Would they dare say any of that to her face?
You know what? I fear the answer to that question, Lola. I do.
Well, they might,
Yeah.
but I most of the time, people that say horrible, horrible things on social media would never say it to your face. And if they did have the idea, it would be couched entirely different.
Probably.
The fact that she came out and talked about it, I think makes her brave because she had to have known that she was going to catch a lot, and yet she's right. In one statement she made, trauma compounds on trauma.
Sure it does.
And I can't even imagine, how terrifying it was to be in that Capitol and hear people actively searching for you. you know? And then any traumatic thing that happened in your past would have been instantly rekindled, whether it was a sexual assault or just, some type of real harassment, or perhaps even a terrible accident or trauma that occurred to you when you were younger. It all just plays together, and people make me sick. That's the bottom. People make me sick. You're right. Like her or not, I do not agree with 90%, 95% of her politics. I would never attack her over, something like that. My question, too, is what was the breakdown of male and female saying things? I'm really curious about that.
It seemed, just to think about it, because a lot of times I read the comments that don't necessarily look who they're attributed to. And a lot of people, and I noticed this too, and it's kind of just a sidebar of what you just asked me. A lot of people have the blue check marks next to them, which means they're verified as who they are.
Yeah.
A lot of people just stay on a CNN or a Fox News or a MSNBC, and they comment on everything because they're trying to gain followers with their political opinions. That's how it works. And so I would say in my mind, they were more male than female, but also there were certainly a number of females that, again, you can, and we talk, and I essentially laughed at Marjorie Taylor Greene this afternoon, but if she came out and said this, I would still attack her politics, but not her personal being, because that's a different story.
Yep.
I mean, the fact that she completely, whatever, that doesn't matter. It's not what we're talking about. But this is just, this person, AOC is still a human being. You don't have to like her. You don't have to agree with her. But if that was your mother, your sister, your aunt, your cousin, you would be revolted by the way people treat anybody in that situation. Here's something I can talk about a little more intelligently and knowledgeable about, because I have met this person and I had a very strange encounter with him. The actress Evan Rachel Wood is accusing Marilyn Manson of abuse. They were together for quite a long time. She met when she was just a teenager, 18. So keep that in mind. The age was 18. It wasn't 13 or 14. She was 18. She says, and quote, "The name of my abuser," and she had come forward plenty of times and said that she was abused over the course of her life in an abusive relationship, never had named Marilyn Manson until yesterday. "The name of my accuser is Brian Warner, also known to the world as Marilyn Manson." She was briefly engaged to Marilyn Manson, by the way. He is 52 years old now. And she said a lot of different things about how he abused her. Toxic mentally, physically, and sexual abuse, threats against my life, severe gaslighting and brainwashing, as well as sick rituals. And some of this is just so vulgar, I'm not going to say. But she has finally named Manson as her abuser. Marilyn Manson, by the way, has publicly denounced all accusations against him. I'll start with this. My own personal experience with Marilyn Manson was one time in my life. Myself and my radio partner at the time went to interview him at his production trailer at a festival in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we waited outside. Someone came to get us to go in. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. We were honestly, and I say this still from a musical standpoint, we were very lucky to get the interview because he doesn't do a lot. The door opens up to this production trailer, and you look inside, and I'll understand this is Charlotte in May. It is hot, and it is bright. The entire trailer is covered and lined with black garbage bags and there are 0 lights on. So once that door closes, you are absolutely in the dark. The walls are no longer white. They're covered in garbage bags because he doesn't want anything. He wants the room blacked out. We sit down on this couch, the door closes, and there is 0 light inside other than the light from my recorder that I took in to do the interview. He comes in, he's wearing all black. The only reason you can even remotely see him is because when he opened the door, there was a red red light bulb in a lamp behind him. He opened the door so it allowed a little bit of light in, and he had a ghoulish white figure. And he's a large man. He's much larger than I would have thought, only ever seeing him on stage and never in person. It's very unnerving. Very unnerving. And I mean, I'm at a festival with 55,000 people outside this door, but it's still, and I'm with another person in the room. And it is very unnerving. And he sits down, and we talk for about 20 minutes about a variety of different things. And at one point in this interview, he says, I realize I haven't been a very good host and offered you anything to eat or drink. And then he said, I also haven't cut you up into a fruit salad just yet either. I have the audio. I thought about digging it up and bringing it in here, but it's a lot of work for something I don't want to glorify again after reading this story. But I always considered what he was doing to be a performance. I mean, it's wild, it's crazy, it got people to talk. I wrote about Marilyn Manson's influence on the killers at Columbine High School in my senior paper. That's how much it affected my life. So this was a big moment for me. But just to see how he presents himself to people he's never met, I can't imagine the influence he has over people that love him if you get to know him. And again, you have to take all of this with a grain of salt. If you say Evan Rachel Wood is lying, you're an awful person. If you don't give Manson a chance to explain his side of it, you're in the cancel culture. And I don't want to be either one of those things. All I'm saying is I had a personal run-in with this person, and it was unnerving to a very large man, a very confident man like myself. I can't imagine what that must be like if you're 18 years old, you're a beautiful woman, you have an infatuation with Marilyn Manson, and that's the kind of situation you find yourself in. I thought it was a performance. I thought he goes out on stage and he'll eat a Bible. He'll actually rip pages out of a Bible and eat them for the shock value. For the shock value. And it worked. It worked. Every parents group, mothers group, every group that's ever rallied outside of his concert against him has made him millions of dollars. And incredibly popular since the mid-90s. It's 2021. This has been going on for a long time. And my interaction with him, I believe, was in 2015. And it's still, I mean, I remember the hair on my arm is standing up telling you that story because it really, truly was an unnerving thing. Radio stations across the country are pulling Marilyn Manson's music as we speak. This came out yesterday. I know at least 5 or 6 radio programmers that I know personally, plus the forums that I generally follow, are all pulling his music. Again, we live in a culture where you are guilty until proven innocent. I can't pass judgment on whatever happened here. All I can tell you is that guy is part of the cancel culture now, whether he did it or he didn't. Never did he get a chance to come out and do anything, but his lawyer said this didn't happen. His record label dropped him this morning. So he no longer has an income stream from making music. He does have a relatively new album out, but they dropped him. That's where we are in society now. You have to be so careful about what you do and how you do it. And I'm, again, no no condoning any of this. It's just you also have to take responsibility for the things that you put yourself into and go, wow, this guy's nuts. I mean, he's nuts. But that kind of goes back to what we were thinking about yesterday and what we were talking about with, the Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month and things like that. Evan Rachel Wood said she was a teenager. She was 18 when she met him. You're really, granted, when you're 13, you know a lot less than you do when you're 18, but when you're 18, you're still very impressionable. You can be considered an adult in some fashion or way, but I know when I was 18, I was still an idiot. I'm not that much better at it now at 43, but I know that at 18, I could have been talked into a lot more than I could be talked into now. That stuff matters. My goodness, that matters. People have to speak up about this. But then again, we also have to be a society that lets somebody respond to an accusation that comes up against them, and that has not happened yet. And here is my favorite aspect of this story, because none of it's good. None of it's good. But finally, you have Senator Susan Rubio is demanding that the shock rocker be investigated. Well, again, are you doing this because he's famous and this could make you more famous? Because this isn't the only sexual assault case that happened yesterday in America. That's what I don't like about it. It seems like someone's having the opportunity to go, well, we should have this checked out. This happens a lot. Why are some cases more prominent than others? Because he's famous and she's famous?
Well, that falls back to the huge committee hearings on steroid abuse in Major League Baseball. It wasn't the government's part to investigate that. That was just a really good photo op for all of those senators to beat up on somebody.
Yeah.
It wasn't their business.
No.
And this isn't either.
No, it's not.
Either.
It's not, and that's the part I don't understand.
It's up to the prosecuting attorney in the city in which you said she's filed complaints. So she's actually been for a long time.
She's actually been very outspoken about being sexually, mentally, and physically abused by a former boyfriend. Most people pointed to Manson because he's Marilyn Manson. Yeah, she was engaged to him briefly, and he's Marilyn Manson. And this is part of this whole situation that I hate about people not understanding the lives of people they don't know. I mean, I get a glimpse, a tiny glimpse, because of the life that I've lived, into getting to occasionally know or meeting. And this was just one time. And I honestly wouldn't do it again. I enjoyed the interview because it was something that I had never experienced before. It's something that a lot of people in my position never get to experience. Marilyn Manson was at one time on top of the world. He shook I'm a big Alice Cooper guy. Alice Cooper invented shock rock. That's what Alice Cooper did. And Marilyn Manson is one of a few people that have followed Alice down the path of shock rock and have done it to a very successful level. And the opportunity to meet and discuss with Marilyn Manson, not only with musical interest, but my own personal life. I wrote a paper about him in college. He was on the show Sons of Anarchy. There's a lot of things that are woven into the world of pop culture that involved Marilyn Manson. And I was very excited to get that. And I also was very excited to get the hell out of that room. I can't stress this enough.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be chopped up like fruit salad.
Well, at no point did I think I was actually going to get chopped up as fruit salad. But I also wondered, how
you didn't take anything to drink, did you?
I took nothing. I can describe every little nuance about that moment. And when I walked out of there, I had to shake it off for a second. Like, it was an intense moment because he is incredibly popular in the world of rock music and the world of pop culture. And it was an interesting moment in my life, but not one I want again. It's not something that I want to do again. And I knew then that I didn't want to do it again. I was thankful for the opportunity. I was happy that it ended. I was glad to get out of there. And again, this is something that had 55,000 fans at it and plenty of people around. And I started to scream. Someone would have heard me, but, it just, I got to tell you, that guy is sideways. It'll be interesting to see how all this pans out. I feel like it's not going to be good for anybody. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk to Stephen Allen Adams. We're going to get all the scoop on what's going on in the state government, and it'll even combine with the national government. We got all kinds of stuff coming up with Steve next on The Watchdog.
Hey, man, what can I get you?
Yeah, can I have 2 Coors Lights?
You got it.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
A task force COVID coordinator, Jeff Zients.
Sites are selected based on their ability to reach some of the populations most at risk for severe illness from COVID-19.
On COVID relief,
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the Senate will vote today on a motion to move forward with their budget resolution. That will lay the groundwork to pass President Biden's proposed $1.9 trillion COVID relief package through the reconciliation process. That process would allow the stimulus proposal to pass the Senate with a simple majority, not requiring any Republican votes.
The needs of the American people are so demanding. We need to think big, and we need to act quickly.
Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Washington.
President Biden expected to sign executive orders today on immigration. Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
We want to put in place an immigration process here that is humane, that is moral, that considers applications for refugees, applications for people to come into this country at the border in a way that treats people as human beings. That's going to take some time.
One executive order aims to reunify families separated at the border. On the Russian opposition leader, recovered from poisoning with a nerve agent.
A Moscow court ruled to change an old suspended sentence against Navalny to real prison time on the grounds that he had violated his parole. In reality, the sentence used to jail Navalny comes from a 2014 trial already widely denounced as politically motivated. The Kremlin, though, pushing ahead despite the protests that have roiled Russia the past 2 weekends. Navalny's team have called for people to come out and protest in central Moscow. Patrick Greville, ABC News, at the Foreign Desk.
Alexei Navalny sentenced 2 years and 8 months. You're listening to ABC News.
Beachcombing, baking cookies, learning French. Aren't these what you'd rather be doing than thinking about your Medicare prescriptions? Well, Walgreens is here to help you get back to it with convenient refill and pickup options, expert pharmacists to answer all your questions, and Medicare copays as low as $0. Zero. Which is also the number of cares in the world you'll have as you stroll the beach, eating cookies and speaking French. Oh la la. Walgreens.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans where Walgreens is a preferred pharmacy.
What's in store this week at Staples?
Maximizing your refund and your peace of mind.
Now at Staples, save up to $25 on select TurboTax software, including new TurboTax Live.
TurboTax Live puts you in touch with a live expert, or do it yourself with TurboTax desktop software.
Shop in store, pick up curbside, or get it delivered same day through Instacart. And save big every day at Staples.
While supplies last. Ends 2/13/21. Curbside available at most stores. Instacart delivery subject to availability. Additional fees may apply.
FBI agents are dead after they served a warrant in South Florida. ABC's Aaron Katursky.
The agents approached the Sunrise, Florida home of a child pornography suspect at about 6 a.m. when shots rang out. The FBI said 2 agents were shot and killed, 3 others were wounded. The gunman barricaded himself inside the home for several hours but was confirmed dead. The shooting is now under investigation.
Los Angeles, with the nation's second largest school district, is being extra careful.
Well, much of the community is scrambling to reopen, and messaging from leadership is that things are looking better. LAUSD Superintendent Austin Butner says, wait a second.
It was only a couple of weeks ago that hospitals were overrun and health authorities were telling us, and I quote,
The devastating impact of the pandemic is about to collapse emergency medical care.
He indicates LAUSD won't be reopening anytime soon, but smaller districts in suburbs around LA are getting ready to return. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Kroger is closing 2 Southern California supermarkets in response to a local ordinance requiring extra pay for certain grocery employees working during the pandemic. SpaceX is sending 4 people to space this year in the first all-civilian space mission. Members of the public are invited to enter a drawing for one of the seats. The mission will be commanded and paid for by Jared Isaacman, a tech entrepreneur and a pilot. He's using the flight to raise money for child cancer research. This is ABC News.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, with 24/7 support and experienced staff at over 250 local branches. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
Wheeling Coin and Hobby on 10th Street in Wheeling, next to the Bridge Tavern in downtown Wheeling, wants to buy any and all unwanted gold and silver jewelry. They are paying top dollar for 10, 14, 18, and 22 karat gold plus 925 sterling silver. They also want to buy collectible coins and paper money from before 1933. Wheeling Coin and Hobby is open daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Coin and Hobby, 304-232-8430, and add them on Facebook.
New Belgium Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available in West Virginia and distributed locally by wine and beverage merchants. With its toasty and biscuit-like malt flavors blended perfectly with hoppy freshness, it's bound to become one of your new favorite craft beers. Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available at local retailers. Please don't drink and drive, and drink responsibly. From your friends at Wine and Beverage Merchants.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Are you struggling to make payments due to an unexpected financial obligation or loss of income? Are you receiving calls from debt collectors? Are you feeling overwhelmed and unsure of what steps to take next? Then you need the experience and expertise of attorney Tom McIntyre and his staff to help guide you through these temporary hardships. Want to hear more about how Tom can help? Then call 877-456-4155 and receive a free copy of Tom's ebook, When Bad Things Happen to Good People. Tom's ebook covers many questions people have about bankruptcy and includes interesting stories about people who tried to avoid filing and people who have filed for bankruptcy. We think you'll be surprised to learn some interesting facts about bankruptcy. Call 877-456-4155.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster. Weather look at your local weather forecast for your Tuesday. Mostly cloudy and cold right through the afternoon. A daytime high near 30 degrees. Overnight low of 23 degrees. Mostly cloudy. Stays mostly cloudy for your Wednesday. A few peaks of sunshine. Temperatures near the freezing mark through the day. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors. Keeping it real for the right, keeping it real for the left. 100% real talk is right here. Real Big Talk continues. Now on the Watchdog, here's Big Rick.
just got back today. Them wild-eyed boys that had been away haven't changed, had much to say.
It's Real Big Talk. I'm Big Rick. Lola's here, and joining us is our friend Stephen Allen Adams. He is stationed up at the Capitol and always has the inside scoop on what's happening with the state government. And Steve, you have been a busy man, have you not?
When am I not busy?
Yeah, well, that's true, but man, it's getting loose when we can now push our state politics into the United States government politics, and we got a little bit of that too, huh?
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything going on, and we can start with that if you wish. We have a fun little situation kind of brewing where you got the governor of our state, Governor Jim Justice, who you know him, you love him, kind of messing with Capito a little bit, not necessarily directly her, but he has come out in favor specifically of the plan pushed by President Joe Biden, the $1.9 trillion next round of coronavirus relief. It includes a lot of things, including $1,400 direct payments to families and unemployment, additional funding for local and state governments, vaccine rollout, testing, the whole gambit. It's a big, big package. Well, Senator Capito is part of a group of 10 Republican senators that are trying to push something a little bit more targeted, about $600 billion. That does some of the same things, including some direct payments, though they kind of cap it to try to make sure the people that do need that payment get it versus, well, frankly, people like me that fall within the guidelines but haven't missed a bunch of work, but I'm still getting these checks. So they're wanting to target it. They had a meeting with Joe Biden at the White House yesterday afternoon, but pretty much all day yesterday, both on national cable outlets and even on the briefing. The governor pretty much made it known and that he wants the big package. He is fine with them spending as much money. He thinks they should go big or go home. And he even directly said that the $600 billion package just isn't big enough. And this even came up in the conversation, apparently, with Joe Biden and the 10 Republican senators, including Capito, at the White House last night. So Capito, who's kind of titularly the head of the Republican Party in the state and has been for a long time, I'm told behind the scenes, not terribly happy that the governor has kind of waded into this and kind of, in essence, supported Biden over the Capito plan. Now, of course, just quickly, Joe Manchin, U.S. Senator Joe Manchin, also has a few issues with the Biden plan. And while he has come out today saying he would ultimately go ahead and support it, he does have some issues with it being too big of a package, costing too much. Again, he has issues with the $1,400 direct payments because he thinks a lot of that's going to go to people that don't need it and would like to see that more targeted. So, yeah, not a whole lot of happiness going around today.
I would say yesterday, Lola and I were in here getting ready for the next segment, and I think it might have been a Metro News update. And the audio clip was in there of Jim Justice saying, well, I'd go big or go home. And I think we immediately switched gears because we kind of looked at each other and went, what just happened? And then we ran with it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And it's one of those things, and I wrote about it in my story this morning, and my colleague, Jess Mancini, covered a conference call just a little bit ago with Senator Capito to talk a little bit more about this. So you'll see more about this in tomorrow morning's Intelligencer. But in my article this morning, West Virginia, it's interesting that the governor is pushing so hard for this because the way West Virginia's economy is going, the way our tax revenue is going, we really don't need the extra money. Now, of course, we're going to take it because even though we can't use it directly for state budget stuff, what it does allow us to do is allow us to pay for things with this money that otherwise would come out of state budget and allows us to direct more money in the state budget to things that we couldn't otherwise do. So every little bit will be helpful, but it all comes from taxpayers at the end of the day. So if you're a taxpayer, you're going to have to ask yourself the question whether, a state like West Virginia right now, that's doing really well. I mean, we pulled in another budget surplus for January. Year to date, I believe we're around 173 million above revenue estimates. And that's at the end of the, seventh month of the fiscal year. And we've only had 1 month where we've been down. That was last month. And it was just barely down below revenue estimates. So we're kind of kicking along pretty good right now.
I would say so. Lola, did you have something you wanted to ask Steve?
Well, I wanted to just kind of throw this in there. Every governor should be pushing for the big package. The small $600 billion one has no money for state and local governments. And now, okay, West Virginia may not need it, but there are other states that really do need it. So I would think every governor, whether they're Republican or Democrat, would be pushing for the bigger one simply to help their state out, especially if you've got a big Medicaid debt that you're going to have to pay. And with the expansion of Medicaid in the Biden bill, that could really hurt a lot of states. So I just wondered too if the governors had their little conference Zoom meeting and got together and said, you know what, this is something that we all should support.
That's a good question. I mean, Steve, do you have any idea? I mean, does Governor Justice talk to some other governors that are in support of this, and maybe they collectively said, you know what, we need to go ahead and support this as a group?
I haven't heard that one way or the other, but it's certainly possible for sure, because the governor definitely talks to other state governors for sure. I know the one issue for Republicans all along in regards to all of these packages is, are we providing states relief in regards to coronavirus-related expenses, or are we just writing them a check so they can fix basically sins of the past? There has been real concern, particularly states like New York or Illinois, that have massive unfunded or underfunded pension systems that have really kind of put themselves in a bind over decades. Is this a blank check to get them out? But that brings up the other side of the issue, which is, you can't really have the states fail. Not really. If the states go bankrupt, that's a problem. You just can't have it. And in many cases, like in West Virginia, we are constitutionally mandated to have a balanced budget. It can never be unbalanced. We can't end the fiscal year going into the red. It's impossible to do. It would be real big trouble for us if we did that. So there's no real easy solutions here. There's no doubt need for this funding, especially if you're talking about trying to provide additional funding to small businesses, that even the businesses that were able to stay open or reopen. In many cases, they've had to reopen with fewer staff because they have to seat fewer people in their establishments. It really becomes an issue of, trying to figure out the right dollar amount.
Yeah, it is. It's a crazy thing. I don't want to spend too much time on this, Steve, because I know there is a few other things that I want to get to. But I guess ultimately, in your estimation, opinion, or your inside track, how big of a deal could this become between Capito and Justice? Because you would think that they at some point have to be on the same page about a lot of things moving forward, with the President of the United States and the House and Senate all being blue.
Yeah, I kind of suspect it will not boil over. It will be smoothed over. It's going to have to be. We're not, unfortunately, talking about a skilled politico here in Jim Justice, though maybe he is. I mean, the thing that we talked about in text was the other side of this coin. Senator Manchin, who had Vice President Kamala Harris do media hits in the state, and that was kind of push on the other side to get Manchin on board with supporting this plan. Now, he was upset.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that kind of a political no-no? It's not done too often, is it?
Well, it's not that it's a political no-no if you have, say, a decent majority, either Republican or Democrat. It is a huge no-no when you're talking about a 50-50 Senate that it can only have their tie broken by Kamala Harris. So you need Manchin's vote on so much. Including this bill, because if you're trying to push it through what they call reconciliation, which is sort of a workaround, because in the Senate you have to have 60 votes just to move something forward to a vote. So this is a way for them to get around the 60 votes they require, and that way they only need a majority. So you need Manchin for that. If you don't have Manchin for that, then you have a problem, which is why it's interesting that Manchin put out a statement today saying he'd go ahead and support that package. So if Manchin's on board, they'll be able to push that $1.9 trillion package through. And it was nice of Biden to have a meeting with Republican senators last night, but it was kind of more a futile effort.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I will say this: it's at least, like you said, it's nice that they talked. I don't know that it changes anything, but it's at least the opportunity to listen to the other side and maybe take some of their ideas. I don't want to spend any more time on that, Steve, because I know you got some other things brewing. We've got Marsh on Capitol Hill. We've got state legislation plans to discuss. We got a lot of things. So where do you want to go next?
Oh, man. Well, I will tell you the most recent thing we could deal with right now is I just an hour ago got off a virtual briefing with members of the West Virginia Senate, Senate leadership on both the Republican and Democratic Party sides, through the West Virginia Press Association's annual legislative look-ahead. You know, the legislative session begins next Wednesday. So normally we hear from lawmakers during this event in person in an all-day event where we get to hear everything they're working on or thinking about or that sort of thing. Due to COVID, we had to do it virtually, and we're doing it virtually over the next 3 days. So today we heard from senators, and not a whole lot of specifics. That's kind of understandable, as they are still working out those specifics. And then on some things, they kind of want to keep their cards close to their chest until they are ready to unveil it. We're talking, as you've probably heard mentioned a few times over the last few months, there is a real push to try to phase out the personal income tax. Ultimately, it sounds like they want to try to replace that revenue, which, just to be clear, personal income tax is probably the biggest revenue source for our state budget.
Yeah, I was going to say, what percentage is that? But yeah, I mean, if that's the biggest line item, I would imagine that this is a big deal.
The budget's usually about $4.5 billion or so. It's nearly half.
Oh wow! I didn't realize it was that much of it. I mean, I knew it would be a significant amount, but I didn't realize it was nearly half.
It's a pretty big deal. Obviously, they're wanting to follow the example. You know, the obvious example is Florida. In fact, that seems to be kind of the real example they're doing, because they think they can make it revenue neutral over a period of time. And of course, they haven't said how long the phase out would be, but they think they can make it revenue neutral by trying to do things such as, find ways to tax tourists and people who come through the state to visit parks or to go skiing or mountain rock climbing or whitewater rafting, similar to what Florida does. But, of course, Florida's been at it a little bit longer. So, if you're a resident down there, there's a lot, you don't pay income tax. But if you are visiting down there, you'll get nickel and dime, at the theme park, or whether you're on the highways taking a toll or things of that nature. So they think they can kind of make up for some of that revenue that way. I'd be curious to see what the final plan is. I'm hoping to talk to some tax experts in the next week or so, actually, to try to kind of nail down what that could look like in West Virginia and how it could be done. Other states have been able to do it. I think there was something I just read the other day that talked about in California. Most of the people fleeing California right now are going to places like Texas, Nevada. They're going to states that don't have personal income taxes. And that's not the only reason they're going, but it's certainly a driver to some extent, Republicans believe. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, that's it. It's an interesting proposition. It's honestly, I never would have imagined West Virginia would be progressively thinking of that as a way to, I mean, at the end of the day, do you want people nickel and dime to, when they come to your state, to go, oh, we want to avoid West Virginia? The good thing about West Virginia is it's such a long state. If you want to get on the West Virginia State Turnpike and you want to go south, I mean, it's already expensive. It's pricey. It's a lot more than I thought. The last time I took it was last January when I was on my way back from the south up to back home. And it's already pricey, but a couple more dollars for the people that are traveling it out, outside of the state. If you want to go anywhere up 77, you're coming from the south. Or 79 even, if there's a way to the way to do that. You can probably get a decent chunk of revenue generated from just that.
Well, you certainly could, but keep in mind, even with the Turnpike in the last 3 years, we kind of follow Florida's model on that. West Virginia residents can get a transponder and pay one price for it and never have to pay a single toll on the West Virginia Turnpike ever again. And I have that in my car and use it if I have to go cover a story down south, and it's great. It's nice to be able to just fly through the tolls, and so now I know how Floridians feel, and we kind of modeled that on what Florida did, because people in Florida can do a very similar thing. So there's things that they can do. One of the things they talked about was trying to kind of capture B&O or hotel and occupancy taxes from Airbnbs that don't have to pay that right now. It's kind of something that the hotel business considers to be unfair competition because, they have to pay those taxes and those go to counties. But if you're an Airbnb, you can kind of get around that. There's all sorts of things that they can try to do. The question is whether it gets you to that point where you're making up for the tax revenue you're taking away. And that's what remains to be seen. Everybody points to Kansas that had a very, very disastrous repeal of some taxes a few years ago in an effort to do what everyone's trying to do, which is trying to get more people to come to your state, trying to get more businesses and industry to come to your state. And it didn't go so well for them the way they handled it. So can West Virginia avoid the pitfalls? We'll have to just see what that final plan is, and they're holding those cards very close to their chest right now.
Looking forward to the way to watching that develop. Anything else, Steve? Because I know that did you listen to Marsh today?
I did, yes. Dr. Clay Marsh actually testified before a congressional committee today. Now, he didn't really say anything that you wouldn't hear on any of the briefings, every other day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But obviously members of Congress from other parts of the country are very interested in learning about what West Virginia did differently. And to be honest, a lot of it, we can't go back in time and those states can't really replicate it this time. A lot of states decided to wait on a federal program that was going to distribute vaccines through the major pharmacy chains in order to vaccinate people in assisted living facilities, nursing homes, things of that nature. If we would have waited on that, we would likely still be in the middle of vaccinating those residents. We didn't wait on that. We pretty much, got our first doses of vaccine on December 14th, and by December 15th, we were already going into long-term care facilities and vaccinating residents and staff. In fact, we just wrapped that up last week to where everyone that had got the first shot now has their second shot. And you're seeing it in the numbers. The number of deaths are starting to come down. January broke the record for the most number of deaths since March, since the pandemic started. But over the last couple of weeks, you can already see deaths are starting to come down. You can see hospitalizations are starting to come down. Active case numbers are starting to come down. Now, we're testing a little bit less, mostly due to the fact that we've switched gears and we have really started to focus on vaccinations, even though you can still get free COVID tests at pharmacies all across the state. But we are doing things a lot differently than other states. Some states that, are still holding back vaccine doses. We, at this point, can handle a capacity. I believe they said if they would give us the doses we need and a little bit more infrastructure, we could easily be vaccinating 200,000 people a week.
Wow.
Easy.
Wow, that's...
If we had what we needed. But right now we're getting about 23,000, give or take, doses each week so far, and hopefully when Johnson & Johnson gets their approval, that will add some more vaccines into the mix. Same for AstraZeneca, which is probably going to be a little bit further down the road, maybe March or April.
That's an unbelievable number. So you're telling me if all things were in place in a matter of 2 months or even a little 3 months, the entire state could be vaccinated if we could just get that number?
Marsh said with our current infrastructure now in place, we could do, I think, anywhere from 130 to 150 per week. I mean, that's fantastic.
It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, Lola's facing my face, and I can see her through the window. Our jaws both dropped. That's fascinating. I'll tell you this from just a counterpoint from the state above. Pennsylvania's 44th. They haven't distributed more than 50% of the vaccines that they've received. I mean, you want to talk about doing it terribly. It's Pennsylvania, and you're telling me in West Virginia, this whole process could be wrapped up for everybody that wants one in a matter of a few months. That is an unbelievable thing.
Right now, we have distributed 83% of the vaccines we have. Now, that's a combination of our first dose and a combination of second dose vaccines. So when you actually divide them out, I mean, we're at 100%. More actually, yesterday we were at 107% of first vaccine doses distributed. Why? Because we're discovering, and we discovered this pretty early on, that sometimes in the vaccine vials you can get an extra dose. Typically, they're about 5. The vials give you 5 doses each. But they're discovering that sometimes in those vials, there's an additional dose in there. And we thought ahead and put extra needles, extra syringes in our kits to be able to, if perchance there was an extra dose in a vial, there was an extra syringe in there to be able to administer it. And we pre-planned for that. So we're able to get extra doses out of vials in order to get more people vaccinated. So, I mean, West Virginia is just doing a bang-up job on this.
Yeah, I would say so. Steve, we've run out of time, my friend, but as always, I could talk to you forever about a variety of subjects. Thanks for all your knowledge and sharing with us, and we'll catch up with you at the end of the week. I'm sure that we'll have more on Governor Jim versus Capito round 2. Something tells me it's not over.
Yep. We'll have that. Plus, we'll be talking to members of the House to discover what their legislative priorities are. Tomorrow, we'll be hearing from education leaders. So there's going to be some other things come out this week for sure.
All right. Read Steve's stuff in the Intelligencer and Ogden newspapers around the state of West Virginia. Good to talk to you, Steve. Take care, pal.
You too, brother.
All right. We will be back to wrap up this show in just a few minutes on The Watchdog.
Hey, I'm going to the kitchen. Can I grab you a Coors Light?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Huh. I never knew there was a zip line in my fridge. Hey, buddy! Yeah? You got 2 Coors Lights up there?
You got it! Always brewed down to 34 degrees. With a taste as cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time.
Here you go. 2 Coors Lights.
Awesome, man. Wow, these are really cold.
That's the only way I deliver it.
Sure. I mean, you being a mountain climber and all?
Yep.
You probably need a pretty warm coat in there, huh?
Yep.
Hey, Ben!
Yeah?
Ask him if he has any nachos.
You got any nachos in there?
No.
Just icy cold Coors Light?
Yep.
That makes sense. It is the Rockies.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
There's something so real about living local, and I know without a doubt I'm not alone. And I love living local. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Said I love living local. WTRF is working for me. The Ohio Valley is where I love to be.
Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands is the perfect place to relax after a long day. Happy hour from 3 to 6 Monday through Friday. Get $2 off appetizers, $3 off domestic drafts, and house wine specials. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA. Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands with another steal of a deal. Get a steak burger and fries all day Monday for only $8.99. It's also Military Mondays. The Lube will take 25% off for all veterans, active duty military, and first responders. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA.
Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection. Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim
Menards has the flooring you need to give your home a fresh look. Check out our great selection of Shaw flooring. Durable laminate flooring can be installed over most floors. Repel Cumberland laminate flooring is water resistant, making it good for any room in your home. Plus, it's available in 3 unique wood grain finishes. It's only $219 a square foot now at Menards. Sale prices are good through Saturday, February 13th.
Save big money at Menards.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the watchdog trusts.
Millions plan for retirement online. Estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, and manage your benefits all from the comfort of your home. And give yourself the freedom to do what you want offline. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands is the perfect place to relax after a long day. Happy hour from 3 to 6 Monday through Friday. Get $2 off appetizers, $3 off domestic drafts, and house wine specials. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA. Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands with another steal of a deal. Get a steak burger and fries all day Monday for only $8.99. It's also Military Mondays. The Lube will take 25% off for all veterans, active duty military, and first responders. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA.
The Storm Tracker 7 team is here to warn you when winter weather will affect your day.
And as we go through the overnight after our coating of snow, we'll wake up tomorrow morning with a few snow flurries.
We are also here to help you make the most of the season. Is it a good day to build a snowman? Should you take the kids sledding? Check out our app before you head out the door.
We're going to bottom out to temperatures in the upper 20s.
With meteorologists Dr. Dave Walker, Zach Petty, and me, Aaron Myler, we've got weather coverage you can count on. 7 News, working for you.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
West Virginia Metro News, I'm Jeff Jenkins. Patients can start registering for access to legal medical marijuana in West Virginia tomorrow.
But for those patients, actual access to medical marijuana products won't be an option until later this year at the earliest. Dispensary permits were issued last week, just months after permits went out for marijuana growers and processors, and there's building to do. Still, State Office of Medical Cannabis Director Jason Frame says the online patient portal launch is significant.
We are happy to get this finally rolling out to the patients. It's been a long road, and I know patients with serious medical conditions across the state have been waiting a while for this.
Registrations will be accepted beginning at noon Wednesday. A patient certification form from one of more than 30 doctors
doctors registered with the state to issue those forms is required. I'm Shauna Johnson, WV, MetroNews.com.
An investigation continues this afternoon into a fire and explosion that happened last night near a truck cleaning facility at Dallas Pike in Ohio County. Wheeling, Ohio County Emergency Services Director Lou Vargo says there's no word yet on a cause.
We couldn't really talk to the workers because, they were both burnt and transported to hospital. So the fire department will continue the investigation. Now, DEP's involved because they called that into the industrial hotline.
The man charged in the December shooting death of Charleston police officer Cassie Johnson is due in court this hour. Joshua Phillips will ask a judge to set bond in his case. You're listening to Metro News, the voice of West Virginia. A winter weather advisory remains in effect until early tomorrow morning for parts of Barber, Fayette, Nicholas, Webster, Pocahontas, and Randolph counties. Reports indicate West Virginia football player, offensive lineman Bryson Mays has entered the transfer portal. Mays has been a part-time starter over the last 2 seasons. Read more at WVMetroNews.com. The Mountaineer basketball team will be back in action tonight, trying to rebound from Saturday's disappointing loss against Florida. WVU on the road tonight at Iowa State. Tip-off 7 o'clock. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Jeff Jenkins.
News, talk, sports, and rock is all right here. Right now. Back to Real Big Talk with Big Rick on the Watchdog.
I probably don't.
I don't mind you coming here, wasting all my time. 'Cause when you're standing oh so near, I kinda lose my mind. It's not the perfume that you wear, it's not the ribbons in your hair. And I don't mind you coming here and wasting all my time.
Welcome back. I'm Big Rick. That's Lola. This is Real Big Talk. Thanks to Stephen Allen Adams. Read him in the Intelligencer and Ogden newspapers everywhere. Steve gets it, man. He gets into every little nook and cranny of state government. I feel like there's no question I could come up with that he probably doesn't have at least some knowledge about. What a great asset for us to have. One of the things we didn't get to today in the show, and as we're rounding out the end of it, some things I wanted to point out, coronavirus related, some good things, some bad things. But unfortunately, we got to talk about the bad things too. And Dr. Fauci said those who have had COVID-19 could get reinfected if the variants become dominant. Of course, we've been hearing about different variants of coronavirus for the last couple weeks, and that is a problem. The good news is, from the information we just got from Steve, so many people that our most vulnerable population in West Virginia have all been vaccinated. So that is huge news. But this is concerning. Of course, some of these variants come from the UK, South Africa, and Brazil, and they have come to America. And it is reported that they will gain steam. Understanding all of this is, from a medical standpoint, is so beyond the regular person. I mean, I get it that things morph and there are variants of different things. It happens every year with the flu, but it sounds like the opportunity to get vaccinated is picking up. Hopefully, the opportunity to get tested is definitely picking up. The United States and Biden administration announced a $230 million deal to ramp up production of the country's first over-the-counter at-home COVID-19 test. $230 million investment there. We've talked about such big numbers in the last year. The $230 million doesn't seem like all that much money considering some of the things we've talked about. I mean, we went, I think in my mind, it's still, $1 million is a lot of money. $1 million is a lot of money. And we've talked about billion-dollar spending so casually in the last year that million doesn't seem that big anymore. And now there's something on the plate to the tune of $1.9 trillion You get, like, at some point, you kind of lose the sense of how much money $230 million is. When you get to the M's, you're like, not that impressed by the word million anymore. But that's a lot of money and a lot of tests for the at-home COVID-19 test. There are over-the-counter self-performed test kits that can detect COVID-19 with roughly 95% accuracy within 15 minutes. That is what a White House spokesman had to say about that. And the Food and Drug Administration granted the emergency use authorization of these in December, and they're expected to cost about $30 each. For a 95% result and $30 each, I would probably be more inclined. I mean, I've had one COVID test when I was blatantly exposed to COVID. And, the up-the-nose thing it's not pleasant, but it's not as bad as people make it sound. But if I could do this in the privacy of my own home for $30 and know within 15 minutes, like, that's the thing. The cost is the cost, and $30 is a lot of money for most people. I mean, nobody wants to willingly spend $30 if you don't have to, but to not have to wait, because I waited 3 days for my results, and they were a miserable 3 days. If I can know within 15 minutes, I'll pay that $30.
The only way I would do it would be if I went to what would be considered a super spreader event and then started feeling sick. I just have visions, though, of people, running out every single time they go somewhere and come home. I got to do a test. I got to do a test. If I started feeling bad, then I would want to go out and get a test and do it myself and know right away. But I don't know that I just would arbitrarily run out and test myself.
No, I mean, if you don't go places to where you could easily be exposed and you don't feel sick, I see why people would. I mean, I agree with you. I also see this as I guess playing the devil's advocate here. I also look at this as people willing to go out on a Saturday night, do something they shouldn't be doing, and then test themselves on Tuesday or Wednesday and go, oh yeah, I could just, if I have it, because people are, it's obvious people aren't taking it as seriously as they probably should, or we wouldn't have such massive, positivity numbers. But yeah, I see this kind of as a license. Like we talked about that with, thinking about WVU and the students that are going back there. I saw yesterday, maybe I saw it this morning actually, and I didn't plan on bringing it up, but since I mentioned WVU, there were, on Spruce Street at WVU, there was a kid snowboarding or skiing down the street, and both sides of the street were lined with people watching. Oh, I mean, that's a party. That's a party. People came out of their houses and all gathered in the middle of the street. Even though they were outside, you can still spread it outside. But when you test, and it's like, oh, well, if I got a negative test back, I'm good to go again. Give me another round. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe this test that you can get at home and find out within 15 minutes, it's probably a good thing for some and probably a license to do stupid things to others.
True.
Yeah.
True.
I kind of worry.
True.
Yeah, kind of worry about that. Bringing it close to home, sad news, but it's a story that so many have been following. A Weirton firefighter has died after a battle from complications of COVID-19. Lieutenant Brian Ritchie was 50 years old. A lot of people have been following that story. If you want to go back and read all the stories about Lieutenant Brian Ritchie, our condolences to his friends and family, and certainly the Weirton firefighters. You can go do that at WTRF.com. Our news partner has all the stuff there about that. But certainly anybody that's protecting our city, protecting our area, and taking care of others like firefighters do, he certainly deserved a mention and a shout out. Very sad to read that. Let's get into some of the funnier stuff, or at least some of the lighter stuff. Did you see that Texas issued an Amber Alert for a cursed Chucky doll by mistake? They thought a Chucky doll was an actual kid that had been kidnapped. And so they released an Amber Alert. Turns out it was just Chucky. The Texas Department of Public Safety sent out an Amber Alert Friday for a rather disturbing pair of dolls. It was Chucky. According to the alert, Chucky was last seen wearing blue denim overalls with multicolored striped shirt, long sleeve, wielding a huge kitchen knife. That was the description of an Amber Alert.
Well, yeah, you'd want to be on the lookout for that.
I would think so, but
if Chucky's coming after you, you damn well better know about it.
they said the alert was issued accidentally. I guess so. Nobody wants to take credit. Oh, it was an accident. Nobody's going to be like, you know what? I actually thought Chucky was a real thing, and so I put out the Amber Alert. I just thought that was kind of a... I mean, Amber Alerts are in no way, shape, or form funny, but oops.
Yeah.
How do you never come across a Chucky doll? How did you not read that description and go, that sounds like Chucky?
Well, the tip-off is carrying a big kitchen knife. I mean, you know.
Yeah. I don't necessarily trust this one. Here's a good one for you. This is a fun one. So My Pillow guy.
Oh.
Okay, so everybody, just to catch you up, My Pillow guy is a huge Trump supporter. My Pillow guy went crazy when Trump's Twitter got taken away, and then My Pillow guy's Twitter got taken away ultimately as well. So he decides to take over the My Pillow Twitter account and spout off the same things that got him suspended from his own Twitter account. So now My Pillow can't be found on social media because it all got blocked. I mean, I don't know the dynamics of the My Pillow company. All I know is the story's actually pretty impressive. The guy had a crack problem. I mean, he had a severe drug problem, turned his life around and created a successful company.
Well, good for him.
Absolutely. That's kind of the definition of the American comeback story. Your life is pretty rough. You come back from a drug problem, you create a company, it grows, you sell lots of pillows and employ a lot of people. That's a great American comeback story. But at no point did it hit him that perhaps I shouldn't use my company's My Pillow accounts to spread what I'm spreading that got me blocked from other accounts.
It was martial law. That's what he was advocating.
Well, I mean, he could have been advocating, anything. But don't you have shareholders? Don't you have a board of directors that you have to answer to? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't, but it just seems to me that whoever partners up owns stock. I know all the major retailers, a lot of them, Bed Bath & Beyond, I think Target, Kohl's. Yeah, they've already pulled his product, I would imagine. And I heard a radio advertisement for it. And I wouldn't say the station if I could remember, but I don't remember the station. It was to buy My Pillows at the lowest rate ever. Like, I guess they're normally at retail price $69.95, I think. And it was like the lowest price ever on My Pillow, $29.95. Now, I get it. People run sales. It's right after Christmas. I mean, we're still in that. I mean, even if we weren't in a pandemic era, this is the first quarter is always the lowest spending of the year after people have overloaded for Christmas and are trying to catch up and pay those bills. And I get it. People run sales all the time, but I just thought it was interesting that was the first time I had ever heard a radio advertisement for My Pillow, and now a lot of my radio friends around the country are being sent My Pillows to use as an endorsement. And I just thought it was like, I think you're probably reaching at straws here, pal. And then he just this morning he got the My Pillow account taken away. I don't know. Some people just don't
get it.
Learn. Yeah. They just won't learn. How do you not learn? This is a nice story. Starts out bad, ends great. Man hits a deer in his brand new car. Did you see this story?
No.
Hits. Yeah.
Deer.
Just off the lot, brand new car. Hits a deer. Later that evening, wins $2 million in the lottery.
Oh, well, good for him.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, anything that goes wrong with your car is like super frustrating because it's going to take a while. I mean, I just went through that.
Yeah.
My Jeep sat at a dealership for 8 days. And so it's frustrating, especially if you only have one vehicle. If you only have one family vehicle, it's extremely frustrating. So guy buys this new car, saves up, buys the new car. On the way home, hits a deer. Then later that evening, $2 million makes that a lot easier to deal with, I would imagine.
Because the minute you drive a new one off the lot, the value just drops. Now, I don't know. I've heard that if a deer hits you, you do not ever hit a deer. The deer hits you. And a lot of insurance companies will cover it because the deer hit you. You did not hit the deer.
Yeah, it ran out right in front of me.
That's yes. It ran right into my car.
I have a friend that just lives down Route 2 a bit, and she posted a picture this morning. There was like 15 deer in her front yard. And I mean, she lives on a residential street, not in obviously 15 deer in a field is not pretty crazy, but 15 deer in your yard in a residential neighborhood is pretty different.
You gotta stop feeding them.
Yeah, it's hard to stop feeding them. Everybody likes to watch the deer run by, as long as it's not in front of your car.
My son lives in a trailer park in Colorado, and I don't think my dog had ever seen wildlife really up close. So we're there, and here comes this big buck right down the middle of the street. And I thought at first Gretchen was going to do these whoop, 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 and run back to the house, but she pretty much ignored it. But yeah, they just amble on through that trailer park, and it's nothing to see them all out, outside in his little tiny postage stamp yard.
Yeah, no, I no doubt. I would imagine that they just roam free. I had a friend who grew up in Ravenswood, and her parents moved out to the outskirts of Ravenswood, out in the cut.
Yeah.
And they lived up on this little hill, but they were really out in the cut. And her mother, must have hit in 1 year 3 or 4 deer in 1 year. In her, every time they got their Explorer repaired, it immediately had to go back. It happened that frequently. And finally I said, Linda, you moved to where the deer live. It's one thing if they come to your yard in Ravenswood and you're like, hey, you're in my yard. When you live out in the cut, you have moved to where the deer already live.
You're in their neighborhood.
I've always said the same thing about sharks. You get bit by a shark in the ocean, well, you went into their house. If a shark broke into my house and bit me, then it's the shark's fault, okay? But if I go into the ocean and I get bit, that's the risk you take.
Yeah.
That's where the sharks live. That's where the sharks already live. Apple is telling users to update their iPhones. Everybody heard about that big Apple shut off or made everybody log out of Facebook.
What?
Oh yeah, it happened. That part happened last Saturday, but now they're getting to the bottom of what happened, and Apple is urging its users to update their iPhone because of a security breach. Now they have fixed it, and they just want everybody to get the update and get the patch on it. So
last weekend?
Yeah, it was last Saturday.
I'm thinking. I know there was a time.
Did you get logged out?
I think so.
Are you in Facebook jail right now currently?
No.
Okay, I thought you said the other day that you were in a timeout from Facebook.
No. I don't get on it enough.
Yeah,
everything on my Facebook is like family,
dogs
and cats.
Yeah, no.
And little kids. All my friends' little kids, because they're like my substitute grandchildren.
Yeah, I always tell my mom, you got a grand dog, be happy about it.
I know.
That's always, and that's my mom's favorite thing to torture me about is I was never a grandmother. I said, you sure were. You have a grand dog. And
I have a zoo. That's what we call ours. It's the zoo.
Yes, the menagerie. But yeah, if that's what happened to you, if you're wondering what happened, and you are an iProduct user, that is why. If you got logged out of Facebook and you have no explanation why, Apple is telling you to go ahead and update your iPhones and iProducts because that is how that happened. There was a little bit of a breach of that. This is a nice story, and we'll wrap up with this one. Did you see that Keanu Reeves gave $75 million to crew members of the Matrix movies? Keanu Reeves doesn't keep his money when he makes it. He's actually been long known to do things like that. He'll buy a pizza and just sit down in a park next to a stranger and eat a pizza with them. And that's not just a PR story.
He just does it because people just don't know about it.
Yeah, it's just something that he's been known to do. He actually has been known to give away tons and tons of his money. Keanu Reeves, certainly one of those people that the world needs more of. We're going to wrap it up for today. That's Lola. I'm Rick. We'll be back tomorrow with Real Big Talk. Have a good evening, everybody. Thanks from the Watchdog.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
5, snow is still